So greetings dear ones. I'll just begin in a moment. I'm hoping this connection is clear and connecting to all of you. So today we will just be discussing or talking a little bit from the Chidakasha Gita. So I am going to refer the Chidakasha Gita to talk about the Guru Tatva and practical spirituality and more about detachment, the spirituality and the worldliness, and more towards self-realization. What does Chidakasha Gita has to say about this? What does Bhagwan Nityananda has to say about this? So I welcome all of you here. I hope I am loud and clear. It's loud, I guess so. So much divine love and light to all of you. I'm glad to see that so many of you are interested to listen to these higher truths which are coming from Bhagwan Nityananda, the Chidakasha, and I believe this is a very ideal place that I'm sitting right now in. This is his place, Kanjangad, his main place on this earth where he did a lot of work, and he has left behind 43 caves for the meditators and those who want to do their spiritual practices. And these caves are not just empty caves here. They are built with lot of divine power and divine energy. Because when I first came here to Kanjangad and saw these caves, I was mesmerized. I didn't have that kind of a knowledge or understanding. What is Kanjangad about? I did not know anything about Bhagwan Nityananda. I was just pulled to this place in very mysterious ways, because the first time I went to Ganeshpuri, I had an overwhelming inner transformation. It was very miraculous, and there's no words to say that, because I am from a Christian background. All I know is about the Bible and Christ, and until I come across this being called Bhagwan Nityananda, and that is the first time I walk into Ganeshpuri and have an overwhelming transformation. Inner peace comes in, because that was a very dire situation in my life. I was nearly about to take my life, very suicidal, and because a lot of things went in my life at that time, and I was starting to ponder about relationships and about what this world is about, and where to give my pain, whom to share it with, because all the friends I knew were all gone. At that time nobody was there, and so I found myself in utter loneliness, utter hopelessness, utter helplessness. And then a miracle happened. I went to I'll take very short time to say this, because it's very important. I want to people, especially my friends, to know what this journey is about. So I went to my friend to ask for some book, because I was so depressed. I couldn't focus on anything. My friend just brought me a book and gave it to me. And while he gave it to me, there were two books that came. One small book was underneath. So I said, "You have given me two books." He said, "Just keep it. Maybe it's just come." And that book was Swami Muktananda's book, Parmat Katha Satsang, something like that it was. And I said, what kind of a book is this? And I don't know, I was supposed to read the yoga book that he gave me. So I read 2 pages, no interest, but then I picked up this book of Swami Muktananda and I started reading, and I never stopped. And I'll tell you that when I started reading, it went on for at least 3 days continuously. I used to only get up, have my food, go back to my bed, because I was so depressed. I could not even go out. I had lost hope in life. There was no meaning in life. So it was my mother who was like taking care of a young guy who was almost like gone case. So it was very disturbing phase, because I could see their helplessness also. So I didn't understand what to do. And then when I was reading this book, 3 days I read it continuously, and there was some kind of energy that was coming, because I don't know about all these things. I don't know spirituality, I don't know energy, nothing. I'm just reading. And when that energy came so strong, there was a strange kind of peace that happened. Strange peace. And by the time I read the entire book, I fell in love with Swami Muktananda. So I decided that I'll go to Swami Muktananda and take this initiation, what is called as Diksha. So I don't know what is Diksha also, but I had read in that. So I went desperately to Ganeshpuri to meet Swami Muktananda without knowing that he has already left his body decades back. And when I'm standing in front of Siddhapita, trying to get in and trying to ask, they said, no, he's no more here and you need permission to come here. I was devastated because all these miles I had just travelled there, hoping to meet him because something pulled me there. And then the auto guy said, why don't you go to Nityananda? I asked him, who's that? He said, you don't know him? He's his guru whom you have come to. I said, where is that? Auto guy said, come hop in. And I hopped in and he took me to Bhagwan Nityananda's place, Kailash Nivas in Ganeshpur, just a kilometer from there. And that was the first time I entered, and there was a strange peace, and I could see all the huge photos in the Kailash Nivas, all of a nude man with a big belly, black texture. And I was wondering, who's this? Is he Muktananda's guru and all that? Then I remembered the book. He has mentioned it 2-3 places about Nityananda, my guru. I said at that moment, oh my God, if that book is so powerful, which has been written by his disciple, how magnificent must be his guru? And then I dropped everything and I started just looking at the photographs and some strange kind of peace. I went and sat in front of his Shaktipat chair where Bhagwan Nityananda used to sit and give the Shaktipat without knowing even what is that. I sat and meditated. I started hearing some voice, I was not sure. I thought it's my mind. I heard some voice, this is meant to happen. Let go, don't revenge, because I was planning to take revenge on the people. I was supposed to sue them legally. All that thing was going on. And I am hearing this voice and I can't trust this voice. So to ensure whether it's right or not, my friend was sitting and his eyes was open. I asked him, I heard something like this. I started telling my experiences. And they all laughed. There were 2 guys. They laughed and he said, this guy is gone mad. Chalo, jaldi karo, meditation niklo abhi tumhari. He was like that. After that, I swear I didn't tell anybody about that experience. And there was an assurance, I am there with you. I'm there with you. And I'm wondering, if you are there, how will I know it? What is the proof that you are there? But it was very assuring. So I had one prayer at his feet, knowing the whole thing about Guru. I just said, I need a physical Guru. I am somehow assured that you are here, but I need a physical Guru whom I can talk to, because if I talk to you, I don't get response. So somebody whom I can talk to and get a response from. And then I came back home, and soon in a week I found myself going back into depression again. So I remembered Nityananda's words that I heard in my head there in Ganeshpuri, I am there with you, call me anytime you need. So I sat very confidently and called him inside, nothing happened. Second day again I desperately tried, nothing happened. 2-3 days I tried, no response, nothing. I said, this is all crap, my mental thing, it's all mind games, which my friends had told. And so I gave up. And that same evening, I was watching TV, and that is the first time I saw a person talking something about Jesus Christ. He was Avadhut Shivanandji. And he was talking about Jesus Christ and forgiveness, because that was my stage where I needed to forgive. And he was talking about it, and I fell in love with him. And then coincidence happened, somebody dragged me to Pune saying there is an event, healing event, come with me, without even knowing who, what, and then I went there, I saw it was this person, my Gurudev, Avadhut Shivanand. And that is when I received Diksha. It was a mass Diksha, but a strange experience. I don't want to get into all that, but it was very, very assuring, and it was very, very tangible. I could feel a lot of things happened there, and I was a changed person from that Shiva. I just changed, and I never looked back. So I didn't know what is this. Then I saw a photograph of his somewhere, in that vicinity, and I asked, how is Nityananda's photo? They said, he's Guru. Then I came to know, oh my God, my prayers have been answered, because in Ganeshpuri I was asking for a physical Guru, and in 3 months it happened. And that is how I was directed to my physical Guru, and under whom I spent more than 11 years now, 11 to 12 years. learning a lot of things, and I had the blessed opportunity to be of his service even for around 7 to 8 years in where he lived, and I could closely see him, and that is when I started understanding spirituality. I was learning spirituality a lot from the books and all that, from people's experiences, from videos, and more about avdutas, siddhas, and all the mystical things and how it happens. And here he gives me an opportunity to be in the vicinity of a divine being, an enlightened being, and understand and correlate it well with what I have learned and have a practical experience with that. And that is how this all things strengthened. So with lot of reverence and gratitude to my Gurudev, Shri Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, and to Bhagwan Nityananda, who is my spiritual father. And it's a beautiful journey. I want to share all this because I just want to convey this message that you are not alone. Please trust me, you are not alone. I even shared these examples to tell you how for 3 days I literally begged for Nityananda's company or assurance or voice. I never heard it, but they have their own ways of saying. And throughout life, this force called Nityananda has been somehow guiding me to places, took me to many mistakes, took me to many saints. Yesterday I was talking to people here in the ashram of how I just bumped into people who suddenly started telling me, I have met Nityananda, or my father has met Nityananda, or my guru has met Nityananda. The people who have taken Jiva Samadhi somewhere deep in remote jungles of Kerala. I happened to go there, somehow no plans, nothing. And I'm sitting and meditating at the Jiva Samadhi of that Siddha, of that Avduta. And then I come to know this Avduta has met Bhagwan Nityananda. And he has taken blessings from him. And even their experience were told to me how Bhagwan dealt with them. And when I went to Devas in Madhya Pradesh, no idea there. I was in the vicinity of a great master there. And a parampara, the Tirth parampara. And then I come to know that Bhagwan Nityananda is there also, because I saw a photo. I said, how in Devas? Then they told me, this great mystic called Vishnu Tirth Maharaj was a very, very powerful mystic. He used to come to Ganeshpuri to take Bhagwan Nityananda's blessings. I said, this is amazing. There is not a place that I don't find Nityananda. So anywhere I went, anywhere, even in Delhi, all the north places, Rishikesh, this side south, anywhere, I've just bumped into places which are connected with Nityananda. So it took me a couple of years to understand the mysterious circumstances that are created and how this comes from multiple lifetimes. So then I thought I should share this journey with people so that they understand, because it's not very relatable. It takes years of understanding and even coming to a conclusion as to, oh my God, this is how it works. So I said, if I share my experience, people can know beforehand that there is a working force always which is there. And this being called Bhagwan Nityananda was supposed to be almost an avatar, because his stature was so extremely high that he could be compared to a god in a physical body, because he was absolutely free of any gunas. Any gunas. There are mystics in this world. There are avdutas. There are people who have reached to that level of perfections. But Bhagwan Nityananda was even beyond the stature of avdutas. So to call him even an avduta is not. That is why they refer to him as Bhagwan or Parabrahma himself. So if you see his characteristics and the way his life went on, and the way where I'm sitting is right now, Kajanghat, the place where he created the 43 caves. So if I can request somebody in the here, to share this link in Cosmic Space, the Conscious Space Light group and Mystics groups, because I'm not able to do it. I don't know, I'm not finding that button here. So if you can just kindly do it for me, I would be grateful, because this is about mysticism and it's about all the avdutas and all. So I just wait for the introduction to finish and then you can post, because it will be meaningful to them. Kindly post to Conscious Space Light and the Mystical Mystics, 2 groups. So then when I again went deep into it, I saw there were some catches and there were some confusions on the path, that which even I had for a long time. So understanding what is this Guru Tatva about, what is Guru principle about. Eventually in the start we all begin with identifying a Guru who is a savior, who comes into our lives and who gives us a direction. But at the same time I used to think in my mind, what about those people who don't have a Guru? Because I see not everybody in spirituality has a Guru. So does it mean they don't have a way out? Then there are scriptures which said that you have to have a Guru to show you the light. But then when I looked into many references and many scriptures and many texts and books and all that, I found even atheists have attained self-realization. There were very great mystics like Albert Einstein, who were at that level of very heightened conscious levels. Nikola Tesla, if you see, he was almost saintly. Jiddu Krishnamurti, if you see Jiddu Krishnamurti, completely atheist, nothing to do with God, nothing to do with any philosophy, attained self-realization. So all these things started cooking in my mind. How is this possible? One says this, one says that. Then finally it took me a couple of years to study and understand. It works in very mysterious ways. The Guru principle works in very, very mysterious ways. So even the scriptures have revealed in various ways. Mythologically also it has revealed, but if you are able to catch through awareness, if you are able to dissect through those scriptures, you will understand the secret, how it is. Otherwise it's very, gross. You won't get it. You will get stuck in the mythology. For example, Lord Dakshinamurti. If you see Lord Dakshinamurti, or even Bhagwan Dattatreya, so if you see there are 3 heads that are shown. Everybody thinks about the 3 heads, and the moment you think about the Tatva, they are qualities. They are certain qualities, and this was explained to me even by Swami Vijayananda very clearly, that he is an essence. Bhagwan Dattatreya is an essence, but the form was shown with 3 heads, and they are all symbolic. Even all the gods, deities, everything, they actually do not have those many hands or all those things. They are symbolic. They are symbolic, like one shows one conch which is there, one shows, one hand shows holding a book which refers to wisdom, one shows a trishul which refers to, killing the 3 gunas, the trishul has 3. So it goes on. Even the Shiva Swarupa which is sitting with the jata, the bhasma and the snake around his neck, it's all symbolic. I won't go into that. Perhaps some other sessions I'll discuss into detail. So similarly, even Dakshinamurti, he is not a form who's sitting there, and it's again deep, very deep. Some other time I'll discuss on that. But Dakshinamurti, I would like to just mention one thing. He is known as the silent Guru. The Guru who does not teach or preach, but just sitting in the vicinity of Dakshinamurti, there is something called the language of silence, from where the knowledge is transferred to the disciples. So you can see how Dakshinamurti, there are 4 disciples sitting there, and he is transferring the wisdom without speaking a word. So that is very much relevant to what we are talking here. If you sit in awareness, a certain meditative way, you enter into the silent zone where the stillness comes, complete stillness. There is no thought. Nischalman, which Bhagwan said. Nischalta, chanchal nahi hai, no more fluctuations, no more vrittis sprouting out. It's all settled down. At that time, this clarity is there. That time, through the silence, you hear something. It's very weird to say, how can you hear through silence? Because this is all what mysticism about. This is how the energy works. This is how even sound works. You can't see the sound. It's very strange that we do not understand the power of this invisible sound and vibration and frequency. We cannot believe it. How is it possible? I don't believe it. But we can believe. Right now this mobile doesn't have a wire. It doesn't have a wire here. Your mobile doesn't have a wire here. But there is something that is connecting you and me. It is the signals that's going. We cannot see the signals. We cannot see it. But still it works. And so perfection. It feels like I'm sitting in front of you and you are sitting just in front of me. See the virtual experience. All working through frequency. It's easy to believe this, but we cannot believe what happens within us. Most probably because these are very gross and we can look at it. But in our mind, we have not gone within. If we go within, there will be an evidence and we can find out. But to go there and find out the Dakshinamurti that functions through you, the mind has to be completely still. When the mind is still, knowledge flows. It's a very mysterious phenomena that happens. Most of the time that I speak upon so many subjects, it doesn't come from here. I can't store it. I don't know from where. It flows. It flows because if you hit that soft spot from where it is supposed to flow, it just downpours. That is what the Western world calls as downloads. I have had a lot of downloads, they say. All the mystics of the Western world, they speak very beautifully. They are people who can sit and just tune and downloads happen and they'll speak. They'll start speaking. I'm not talking about channeling. Channeling something. Channeling, you connect to some divine being or some entity or something. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about somebody sitting in silence and the eternal wisdom is just flowing. When the eternal wisdom flows, it starts filling that person. And that person cannot speak at that time. Even if there is no wish also to speak. It is just complete silence. The moment that person comes out of that state and comes down a little grosser into this grosser consciousness, then there is an urge to even speak. Otherwise there is no urge to speak. This explains why most of the mystics remained in silence. Ramana Maharshi, if you see, always in silence, never spoke a single word. Full of wisdom, never spoke, because no urge to speak. You have to have a guna to speak. I am speaking because I have a guna, certain guna. There is a desire to speak. There is a little bit of ego that manipulates it and all that. It does, when you function in the world, it is needed. But those mystics who have nothing to do with the world, they are sitting in some isolated space, absorbed in that glory. Like Bhagwan Nityananda. Bhagwan Nityananda also used to sit completely in silence. For 6 to 8 months, sometimes he used to not speak even a single word. And he hardly spoke when he was in Ganeshpuri. He hardly spoke while he was in Kanangad also. Very, very little he spoke. Never interacted with the public. There was never something like question and answer session. Some comes to him. And whatever he spoke was in bits and pieces. Because, the state of that consciousness is so high. That person is so divinely connected to God consciousness that they don't have absolute fractional experience of their body consciousness. They don't even know they have a body. So in that state, they are in a blissful state. But the compassion that they have for humanity, they need to pull down that vibration to even come down to level to speak. The speech begins at a lesser vibration, not at a very high consciousness. For that, you have to lower a consciousness. And that is why many of these divine beings who would never like to talk, like even say Swami Samartha, Gajanan Maharaj, Gyaneshwarji, Ramalinga Swami, all these mystics you take, they were all in their own world, absorbed in their own world. But because they had some rule, that is why they came to earth. They didn't come here to be lost there. They could have been just in that space. They came here for some work. So when they reminded themselves they have come here for some work, they brought down their consciousness and went about doing all these leelas. Jesus Christ, he also was doing the same thing. Guru Nanak Ji, he was doing the same thing. Buddha was doing the same thing. Mahavir was doing the same thing. They were all people of silence. So they spoke when it was needed. So the Chidakasha Gita, he never wrote, he never spoke, he never said, write this, nothing. Once when he was in Mangalore is a few kilometers from here, around 1.5 hours from here. It's the border between Karnataka and Kerala. So Bhagwan used to travel a lot in this area. In all this area he used to move around. So he used to be in Mangalore, Udupi, that side and all that. So when he was in Mangalore, he happened to be at Tulsi Amma's place. There is Tulsi Amma's house there, which I have done 1 or 2 lives there, videos I have shared multiple times when I went there to that house. Tulsi Amma's Samadhi is there. Tulsi Amma, who is the one who compiled Chidakasha Gita and wrote about it. So it was due to her efforts that we even came to know what does Nityananda look like, what does he feel like, what does he think about. And what was his message? Because if this was not there, nobody would have known what is Nityananda. And Nityananda was not a man of publicity. He never, because that comes from a guna again, even publicity. He has no guna. Gunatitam. Triguna rahitam. So when he is beyond that, his idea was never about it. Even you see Ramana, he ran and sat in Arunachaleshwara because he didn't want public interaction. So he went to that dry hill that day. Those days it was only rocks and mountains. So he went and sat there. There were caves there of ancient rishis. He sat hidingly there. Before that he had gone into the temple, and in temple he used to fall into samadhi, Arunachaleshwara temple. So in samadhi, no body consciousness, rats were eating his feet. Rodents, almost like they would have killed him. When Sheshadri Swamigal, the great avadut of Tirunamalai, saw him, picked the boy and brought him and left him near the foothill where is now Ramanashram. So from there, even Ramana says, I had no interest. I had run away from all the people I didn't want. But he says, when the flower blossoms, it happens. When the flower blossoms, the bees come on its own, he says. So you can't help that. And that nature is that way. You can't really help it. Whether you like it or not, it happens. And so the same was with Bhagwan Nityananda. So when he moved around, he did a lot of miracles here, stopped trains, and many things are there, mystical things and all that. He did all that, and finally he settled down here for some time in this place where I am right now. It is just 5 minutes walk from here, all the 43 caves. So he built those 43 caves, and he said, this is for the sages of Satyuga. The sages of the Satyuga who are going to be working for Satyuga are going to come and meditate here. So that was his intent, that was his sankalpa. And the first time I came to this place, it was very mystical because I had just gone to Ganeshpuri and I didn't know. I was thinking, Bhagwan, I know there are some caves. I used to always tell Bhagwan there are some caves. I want to come to your caves in Kerala. I have never been to that area. Somebody told me it's jungle and all. I don't know what to do. You won't believe. The same day I was just having an interaction. One uncle, our neighbor, came up and sat for talk. So he was my dad's friend. So I was reading this book of Ganeshpuri that I brought up Bhagwan. I just kept it on the table and I started talking to him. He looked at the book and he said, oh, this is Nityananda. I said, how do you know him? He said, I live very close to where his caves are in Payanur. So this is Kanjangad. After this next station is Payanur. So he said, I am from Payanur. We are all from there. So I said, you know that place? No, he said, I'll give you all the details. So he gave me all the details of how that. And the same day, I used to write these blogs a lot of my guru. And when I was doing that, I saw the same day a comment come from one Mr. Arjun of Mangalore. He was my very good friend. I don't know where he is now. But he wrote to me. He just said, Jacob bhai, we are planning to go to Kanjangad. If you can join us, it would be a pleasure for us. I said, bingo. Same day, talking to Nityananda, these two incidents happened. And I said, please, I'm coming. And when I went, they came to the station, picked me, and we had a good time in their house, Mangalore. Then in the car, they drove me first time here to Kanjangad. So see, he makes all the arrangements if you have an intense desire and that immense love for it. That's how I started, and from then I'm coming here for dozens of time now. So first time I came here, walked into the cave, I couldn't understand. I couldn't sense anything. There was no energy, nothing. I just said, what is this? Second I came, third I came. I couldn't really understand, but I felt good. That's the only thing I know. It took me a couple of visits to, and by the time I was working with my sadhanas of my Gurudev, was connected to him, and there was some evolution happening from within, and I became sensitive to these energies. And then I realized, bingo, this is something. This is really something. And every time I used to come and spend just 2 to 3 days here, I used to go back completely refreshed, completely changed and transformed, mind changed, personality changed, everything changed, even the physical, this energetic levels. I said, there is something here. And that's how I became acquainted to come to this place. And then we started writing blogs here, and then it went on. So Bhagwan was here, and when he went to Mangalore, in Tulsi Amma's place, so he was living there in a certain trance all the time. So I've been in that house, I have put videos, you can check it there. So in that place, Bhagwan used to start uttering words. He used to start speaking sentences, something in long, sometimes with a pause, sometimes, and it didn't make much sense because when you are half in body consciousness and half in eternal consciousness, you are fluctuating all the time. And to speak something, you have to bring down your consciousness. So the moment you are here, you are able to say something and then you are back. So there is a gap that's happening, So if you see all the avadhuts, if you observe, in a state of trance, they are unable to talk. Or they talk something blabbery, it's not very clear. I have witnessed this even in my own Gurudev's presence, when he was in very ecstatic state and he's trying to talk. Forget talk, he can't even identify who is who. He's looking like this with open eyes, and then two words are coming and then he is in bliss, and again 2-3 words. So I've seen that state. What happens to them? So I'm coming to a conclusion. I have not been in that state, but I'm coming from a conclusion from where I've learned from multiple states. So it is understood easily how Bhagwan Nityananda has these fluctuations and why the words are coming, why it is going, and how. So Amma, Tulsi Amma, who was almost the first disciple of Bhagwan, because Bhagwan initiated Tulsi Amma in Guruvan. Guruvan is just 5 kilometers from here. Guruvan is that jungle, complete intense jungle, a small hill, and on top of the hill there is a big cave, and Bhagwan used to always go and sit there. Imagine, from here he used to walk almost 5 kilometers, and he used to go and prefer sitting there to be not disturbed for days and months sometimes. And it is said that, I am not very sure, but it is said, some mystics, some people who are connected with Bhagwan Nityananda said that Tulsi Amma met first time there. Tulsi Amma was a widow, and Bhagwan accepted her as a disciple and gave her Diksha there in Guruvan. That is why it is called as Guruvan. Guruvan means the forest of the Guru. One means forest. And from there that association began, and very seriously started commencing from there. So once when he was in Bangalore, he was speaking, and then Amma started writing down because it was precious for her. They hardly saw him speaking so continuously, spontaneously. And she noted down all that in language called Kannada, with the help of a neighbor who was a shopkeeper there, and they wrote it down and all that, and they compiled it very well, and they took the permission of Bhagwan Nityananda, and he said, publish it as it is, okay, whatever has come, exactly do that without any alterations and all that. So it was done, and that is the first time it got published. I still don't believe these are exactly the perfect words of Tulsi Amma, because I do feel over time some here and there little bit words or something, grammar or something has changed, and even my awareness, I feel that even while Amma was writing it down, there could not have been, I don't think so, a perfection in what he's trying to tell and that recording. So while writing also, there could have been a little slide somewhere, things and all. And from there again, while it's been translated to many languages like English and all that, I don't know. But looking at this gives a very subtle and deep idea of what was Bhagwan Nityananda's thoughts. So it's so difficult to understand Bhagwan Nityananda because a man of no voice clearly. So, and Bhagwan Nityananda even confirmed that he has not come here for the first time, because in Guruvan somebody asked, why are you here in Guruvan? He said, this is not the first time I am coming here in Guruvan. So that means for many incarnations before also he was there. I had heard from somebody that in the cave there in Guruvan there was a skeletal remains of some yogic posture sitting in Padmasana inside the cave, which Bhagwan removed from there and properly buried it or something like that. So there are saying that it could have been a yogi, or some say it could have been him itself in the previous incarnation. So we do not know. There is no perfect record. And Guruvan is a very mystical place, very mystical place. I believe that's a portal. That's a entry to a different portal, different dimension, because there are many mystics who have spoken there, including one child was there who had the experience while being near that cave, and that child grew up to be an elder. He just recently passed away a few years back. So he was alive to tell what had happened when he as a little child had gone to meet Nityananda, and he was in the cave, and he followed Nityananda into the cave, which normally he does not allow. But then it said that Nityananda saw him and held his hand and took him inside that huge cave. You cannot go in that. If you go, you can only crawl and go to a certain extent. And it's full of snakes and water, so people don't go in. So previously we used to go literally every time. I have put it in my blogs, namonityananda.blogspot.com or namonityananda.wordpress.com. If you just look into that, you'll see all the interior caves and how the bats are there. Snakes we couldn't find, but I have heard hissing sounds from, there are many burrows and holes, and because there are frogs also there. So Vidyananda Swami used to tell there is a huge golden colored snake that he used to see once or twice in a month. It used to just come out of the cave and stand up and look at the whole, the Guru and then disappear into the caves. But I have never seen it. Anyways, we had recorded many of our experiences inside, and that cave, the boy was taken. Bhagwan took the boy into the cave, and the boy said when he entered, he saw everything shimmering in golden light. And there were many sages sitting, with long beards. One is sitting up there, one is sitting here. And it was a huge, like a valley kind of a place. And all like golden light shimmering everywhere. And multiple people sitting deeply absorbed. And that was a very astonishing incident for the boy, little boy. So that remained in his memory. And he told people, and after that, that experience. So Nityananda let him out, he showed him that glimpse. His touch made that possible. And he lived always speaking about it. Till his old age, he just recently died. So many people have recorded that thing. And it has not been noted anywhere because that person was not a public person. This boy who grew up, he used to be in his own world. So I believe it could be true because if it was done for some gimmicks, it would have already been published here and there. But he was very silent, spoke only to few people about it. So these are the mysteries of even Guruvana. We do not know, but I can sense something is there, something very special and very, very mysterious. But we are not here for mysteries. We are here for the blessings and grace. So I feel this is a place for grace and blessings, definitely. And all that is needed when if anybody comes here to Guruvan or to Kanyangat is a sense of stillness. Stillness means surrender to that energy. Without using our mind, you just sit there in stillness, that's all. No doing anything, no mantra jap, no this, no that, no techniques, nothing. You just sit empty there and still your mind. The practice of awareness that I am again and again sharing on this platform, shifting into awareness, on Facebook, shifting into awareness, and on YouTube, shifting into awareness, you will find that can still your mind, because shifting into awareness is all about moving away from your mind and shifting to your soul consciousness. When you learn to practice to shift into awareness, you are no more in the mind. Mind is controlled by ego. So you are not in the ego consciousness, you are not in the mind consciousness, you shift into that awareness. When you shift into awareness, you become aware of something other than this body, this mind, this ego. That something is where the communication happens. The downloads that I am talking about happens when your awareness is there. Downloads are always happening, but we are not aware of it. Why? Because the consciousness, the awareness is on our body. It's in the outward things. We are so busy in all the five senses are always active, doing something or the other. Seeing, watching, hearing, eating, smelling, all this, touching. It's always engaged and energy is being wasted in that, dissipated in that. And this thing happens, the download is very close to your koshas, because where does the download happen? You have got this kosha, there's the physical body, you've got the pranamaya sharira, subtle body, and then you have the etheric body, and above that is the manomaya kosha, the mind sheath, where the mind, the thought is, and above that is the intellectual sheath, the wisdom sheath, which we called as vijnanamaya kosha or jnanamaya kosha. There is where the downloads happen. So, if you are not in that space, there is no permission for the downloads. You have to be centered, your awareness has to be in some of that kosha, higher koshas, or the subtle bodies, for the downloads to begin. That is when the communication with Dakshinamurti is saying. So that is the higher Guru that we are talking about. The Guru, the father of all Gurus is Dakshinamurti. And that is where the Guru becomes silent. You have something called a grossest Guru and a little grosser, a medium grosser, a little grosser, almost gone grosser, then you begin with subtle and it goes on. Subtle, subtler, fine, and then into that nothingness. You see, different frequencies these are. Depending on which level of evolution you are, you will resonate to that kind of Guru. Or that will become your Guru. So that is what I try to explain in the Guru Tatva. What is the Guru Tatva? If you are in the lower state of consciousness, that is when the physical forms becomes very important to you, because you have not shifted into awareness, you have not shifted into that higher dimensions from where you can have a silent communication. You are engaged in this. Bhagwan Ramana Maharshi explains this very, very beautifully, that you who are lost in the world, in the Maya Jagat, and when you are so grossly involved in your senses all the time, and then you have pain and suffering. That pain and suffering begins when your prarabdha is thinning. Everybody has pain and suffering, but everybody is lost in that. There are very few who come out of that suffering, like my journey which I shared. Extreme suffering, and then there is a twist, which most of us have. 80 to 90% of the spiritual aspirants come into this path through suffering itself. Suffering is when the prarabdha is actually reducing and your consciousness is rising. So when the consciousness is rising, you awaken to a higher truth that this is not life, there is something more to this. And then that suffering is unbearable. Questions come like, who am I? What am I doing in this world? What is this world all about? It's so temporary and people are so gross and so mean things happen here. What is the purpose? Am I going to eat, live and die like this all the time? Is this all existence about? You start pondering into very deeply all these deep questions. So all those who are in this phase, it is the grace of the Supreme that is acting, because the prarabdha is thinning now to begin your reverse journey back home. So that is the start where you get a kick start, And then the pondering begins, and a man who's been so engrossed in all these senses cannot understand how to get out of the suffering, but he knows there is some higher power. So he keeps yearning for that. Pull me out of this suffering, get me out of this, or even get me to you. I want to leave this space, I want to come to you. Where are you? If you are here, then what happens? Why are you not showing up? All these things start, and that is called the intense connection with the divine, where you are asking, where is your presence? And where is all this? But inside subconsciously, there is something higher which I need to call, though you can't see it. And it is said, when you are yearning for that, when you are sending that signals out into that universe, to that God consciousness responds to you in a very beautiful way by his vibrations or frequency to help you. But unfortunately, as I said, we have lived lifetimes in the gross world, dug in our senses, outwardly vision, we have never turned inside, so we cannot catch that frequency. It is not that the God frequency is not responding. I told you in the start, 3 days I was seeking, where is Nityananda? You had told me you will be with me, and where are you? I can't hear him. He was there. My vibration was so low in that depression that I couldn't match or come even close to that frequency where he vibrates. Please understand, these frequency of the divine or divine people can come down only to a certain level, because if they come down below that, they are like you and me, which they cannot be. They have risen, they have gone beyond this. So there is a certain level, a certain maximum level they can extend that frequency and help to. They want to. All that is needed, a little bit of rise of our frequency, so that this meets, and when this meets, the communication is established. But most of the time it doesn't happen. And the cosmic intelligence knows that. So it will divert the help to where your awareness or consciousness is. What did I say? The consciousness is not inward at that time, when we are stuck in the gross world. It is outside. We seek evidence for everything. We seek pleasure from outside. We are manifesting desires, living in the pain and pleasure. So that cosmic intelligence now works on the outside so that it can catch your attention and give you the help that you are seeking. So you are looking outside, and then a guru appears in front of you. That's how the Guru manifests in front of you in a physical body. The Guru is not the physical body, but the Guru Tatva, that principle that is supposed to help you connect yourself, the individual consciousness, to the Supreme Consciousness. The Jivatman to the Paramatman. The mediator is the Guru Tatva. And that Guru Tatva has all the intelligence to work in the best way it can help you. The most superior way is the inner way, but we are not in tune. So it appears outside, it manifests as a Guru. It's like you have called for that Guru. That is why it said, when the student is ready, the master appears. How do you know the student is ready? Yearning. Please save me, please help me. I have had enough of this, please get me out of this muck. So that's the readiness. So when the student is ready, master appears. The phenomena is this. I am explaining in detail so you understand, because if I say Guru is not a body, you will say I am reading from. No, this is how exactly you will understand. And so who can be your Guru? Whoever is attuned to your kind of taste. Everybody has different vasanas, tendencies and tastes and ideologies and certain mindset. So many things are there. So who is suitable to you, you attract according to the law of attraction that kind of a master into your vicinity. So it is to say that, who is the Guru? The Guru is a reflection of you. Whoever you attract into your life, it's exactly the reflection, because they are also on certain frequencies. And there are thousands of Guru on this planet. Not all are on the same kind. You see, everybody is different. Every single Guru, every single master is different. Same like every mystic, every Avdut is different. Their states of consciousness can be compared to a certain level of, the merged in the Parabrahman, that state, high state of consciousness. But if you look at their characteristics, the way they act, the way they live, they're all different. Why? Because a certain tendency, how they have lived their life, the physical body, how it is acquainted to a certain habit and all, it continues moving in that, but having the higher tattvas. So, whatever is your frequency, whatever is your samskara, whatever is your ideology, you attract a similar kind of Guru and you fall in love with that. Because why do you fall in love with that? You are looking into your reflection. When do you fall in love with a girl or a boy? You have certain things in your mind, what you like, the traits, the personality. It's a selective taste that you have. And whoever appeals that taste, you fall in love with that. Whatever, even it might be beauty. That kind, there are 10 beautiful girls or boys. Everybody looks at that and you might choose one particular face. Somebody might choose another. All are beautiful. But why? Somebody has affinity even towards a certain feature, a certain face, tendency. It's a habit, it's a conditioning that is there. Your vasanas, depending on that you attract. Similarly, you attract everything outside the master also. And that master enters your life and the process begins. Whichever process. It might be in the Bhakti Marga, it might be in the Kriya Marga, it might be in the Jnana Marga, it might be in the Raj Marga, it might be in the Karma Marga. Whichever. Kundalini Marga, Shakti Marga, Laya Yoga, whatever you call it. Different types of yogas. Which is correct. Nothing is superior, nothing is inferior. Everything is perfect for that person. That is why you can see one person who is acquainted with a certain Guru might not like the path of another. No, that doesn't suit. It doesn't suit you because you are conditioned in this way. Your vasanas, your tendencies, everything, the habits, the mentality, personality, you are designed in this way. That is why you like it. So you are comfortable. Actually, I'll use the word, you are comfortable with that path. You are comfortable with that Guru. So we go by that. You might not be comfortable because this is a different kind of idea. But for that person you ask, that is a whole and soul for that person. That master is a whole and soul. That path is a whole and soul. Are you getting it? So nobody is superior, nobody is inferior. All the masters are working from the Guru Mandala, the Guru Tatva. And whoever is in your vicinity shall come to you. I always give this example that if you are in trouble, if you are in emergency, you need an emergency call. In India, you dial 100. In Western countries like USA, you can say 911. So you dial 911 or you dial 100. That is a central number that you're dialing. What I'm saying is when you call out to God, you're dialing 100. You don't know where that central number is when you're calling 100. You don't know who is behind and which area is that 100. You don't know. But you know you are dialing. So you dial out to the God and say, save me, help me, whatever that is. Signals reach there. Now it has gone to the central command. From the central command, what they do is, they identify your GPS location. Where are you located on this planet? And accordingly, they will send the signal to the patrol car which is in your vicinity. Let's say a police patrol. So it goes to that vehicle that is moving very close to your home. The closest in the range. Why? Because easily and faster the help can be reached, because it's an emergency. So the signal is sent there, and whoever is moving in that patrol. See, whoever, the duties can change. Morning duty might be some other patrol car. Evening might be something. Night might be somebody. We do not know who is the wheels, and they are also not bothered. They are just doing their duty. Patrol cars are just doing their duty. They are not attached with any house, any locality, nothing. They don't even know. But they know they are on duty. Whenever the call comes, they have to attend. This is the Guru, the patrol cars. So they get the signal to go to a certain location. I'm just giving you an idea. So you go there, the petrol comes there, and you get the help. That's how even the Guru Mandala, the 100 number or 911 is the Guru Mandala. The Mandala. So it's a hierarchy system. From there, you need, the signal goes. That is why many people used to ask my Gurudev, I called for Sai Baba and somebody came. And I was talking to Nityananda, I was calling to Nityananda and Jesus came. And somebody says, I was actually praying to Sai Baba and Guru Nanak Ji came. In my, how is that possible? So my Gurudev used to laugh and say, they don't have any difference. You have diversities here. For them it is easy. It is not like whom you are calling and by the name and identity. Whoever listens to your call takes your call first. Whoever is around, whichever frequency you are on. So if you attune to that frequency, that gets, and they don't say, this is not my job. Hey, I'll hold on. Please hold on, let me pass this. No. Or they'll call, hey, there's a call for you. Nothing like that. They attend to it because it's selfless, unconditional love. All of them. It doesn't matter to them. So this is when I say the Guru Tatva has got, the Mandala has got multiple people in their, multiple people in the sense they are not people, they are beings who have elevated and left their bodies but are still lingering around. They could have merged in the Supreme Consciousness and liberated completely, but they choose not to. They remain suspended in omnipresence, They are omniscient here, and they work for the betterment of the humanity. It's their choice. Though it's not what we are thinking, a choice that is made by the mind. It's all an essence that happens on itself. The will that they have before leaving their bodies, it all depends on that. The volition, the will, the sankalpa of all these great masters are very powerful. There are beings like, they can enter into samadhis for 5,000 years. There are beings, example, who say like, let me go into samadhi and 5,000 years, let me not be disturbed, and they stay there in samadhi. For us it is 5,000, for there is no time, date, year, nothing. So it can be something like, they open, after half an hour they open their eyes, according at their dimension, and after half an hour it's 5,000 years gone. So it's mere play for them, the great divine beings. Like I've been traveling all my life to South, and the Siddhas that I have studied and all, there are many Siddhas who are still there, not gone. They are suspended, they are in their bodies, but unknown locations in India itself, who are gone away for a certain period of time. Unbelievable, right? All possible. Everything is possible. Once I went, I don't want to name the place, I went to North. North, there is one zone, Central India I went, and there is a place, because I had read about a mystic, a great master, who's sitting in tapas for the next thousands of years. I don't know how, I don't remember how much, I think 3,000 or 2,500 years he has taken sankalpa, and he's sitting 500 feet above the ground. suspended in levitation. Can't be seen, astral body, not the physical body, astral body, he's still there. And Shaktipat happens below him. There is a sampradaya, which I've been very connected very closely, where even today Shaktipat is given. All they have to do is on a Purnima, they go into that cave down and Shaktipats happen, Dikshas happen. And it is said the cave is very this, but if you read very closely, and the great masters of the lineage, Parampara, they know it's not about the cave. There is this being who is sitting suspended 500 feet above the ground level, above the cave, and doing that work. And now you'll say, he is in that samadhi, how will it work? That is what the Guru Tatva is all about. This is what I want to stress to you about. Guru Tatva is a cosmic intelligence. It does not work through the mind. Yes, mind can, it can be initiated. Even, for example, if a master is sitting in the body and they do a sankalpa, a volition, that will take place because it has a very powerful force that goes out into the world. And it manifests. So their physical manifestation, their physical volition also helps in the manifestation and helping humanity or their disciples through their will itself. That is why we say the grace of the master is needed. And I have experienced this from my master, without which I wouldn't have been where I am today. So that grace is there, the physical help where the master is actually thinking and blessing or gracing, all that is important. But when you go still higher and higher and higher, the mind thing goes down. And when the Guru is completely absorbed in the deep silence, the cosmic intelligence of that Guru Tattva starts functioning. It's an automatic process where the Guru, when he is aligned with that cosmic realm, he's just sitting in that pure silence, and people who are connected to him, it starts working mysteriously in different direction. Even at the same time, it can cater to 1,000 people or even more. There's no count, but I'm giving an example. If 1,000 people are connected at one time to one Guru, and if that Guru is in that state of unified communication with the divine, in completely unification with the divine consciousness, then it's an automated, like an autopilot. They do not do it with their conscious mind. They are absent. They are in stillness. But the Guru Tattva starts functioning through them. So somebody is asking and somebody sees the master there physically. Here somebody sees the robe is touching and going. There somebody has a vision. And here somebody, the Guru is saving. There somebody, the Guru is communicating. They will say, how is this possible? He was there with me. How did he come to you? If two people say, how did he come to you? It doesn't work that way. It is automated. So they don't have to sit worrying, it's many people think, how tedious, how tired the Guru might get, sitting. No, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. He has to think, someone is contacting me from here. Okay, let me do something for him. Someone is contacting, okay, that happens. That happens. When they are in their conscious being also, they can read those vibes. And when the vibes they get, they can respond to it also in that way. But what I am telling is in a much higher state. So they prefer going into that higher state where they can help so many people at the same time. Not cater to one or two like that. So when they are unified in that samadhi, in their deep samadhi, their Guru Tattva is activated because that's the work of the Guru. That's the responsibility of the Guru. It's a cosmic principle that starts functioning on its own. And when people connect individually, they all can. That is the funda of omnipresence. Omnipresence is being everywhere at the same time. So it is nothing that is done by the conscious mind. It is done very much unconsciously. So this is how the Guru Tattva actually functions. And then when you go deeper and deeper and connect with the master, start learning and you start rising and evolving, then you start realizing that the Tattva that is not coming from a physicality. With physicality, it has a lot of limitations. Many of the masters who left their body have left saying, I want to serve more people. I cannot do it with this physical body limitation. Because they many masters I can quote, who always find that I am unable to deliver through this body. Even Nityananda said this. I can do this more from the astral planes and serve more faster through that. What does this mean? It means that, see, the gross is more powerful than the gross is the subtle form, the sukshma form of the Guru. What is the sukshma form of the Guru? The consciousness of the Guru. So that is when I speak again and again that you have to link with the consciousness. If you link with the consciousness, you can do with the gross also, but you will have gross results. Gross results are always limited. It has got its limitations. But when you expand into the consciousness, it is unlimited. You can't fathom it. You can't fathom it. I'm telling you. You can't understand it with the mind, this thing. But if you can experience it. When you go deep and experience it, you'll come to know how it is. And then you sit in that zone and you just reverberate. It's like you're sending those vibes, and the Guru functions through any master, any being, anything which you can perceive. If you are in that state that you can perceive a vibration, a frequency, or you are in an elevated state of awareness where you can easily identify a help coming from a stranger, you will take that help because you know it's your Guru sending someone to you. For that, you cannot be in the gross. Gross logic. Logic will not work. You have to go beyond the mind. It's an automated state. See, Bhagwan mentions in both Bhagwan Ramana Maharshi and Bhagwan Nityananda mentions how this state comes when the non-doership is there, when you give up the doership completely, that I don't know who's doing it. I'm just an instrument and I'm grateful to be an instrument, but something is working through me. When you walk in this, when you talk in this, when you behave in this, when you live in this, you become a running instrument, a divine instrument. And then you don't take no credit for it. You don't know what's happening. You don't want to talk about it. You're just moving around doing it. Why? Because now that divine consciousness is working through your consciousness. Are you getting that? So at that stage you will be able to relate to what help is coming. And that is what Bhagwan also said. When he did the cave work here, he didn't do it very planning and using his analytical mind and nothing. Something. He just walked one fine day here, he started digging. God knows. God knows me, even he doesn't know what it is. That power does it. God knows. There is no intention. There is no plan. There is no step-by-step plan, nothing. It just happens. And they don't stop anything that is coming very spontaneously. It's happening. They just do it. Their feet, wherever it takes them. Ramana used to say, wherever your feet takes you, go. You should be in that. You should not even decide that, let my feet, no, not that also is not there. That even the movement where you're walking, you're talking, whatever is happening, something is doing it. You are going in that flow when you go, you can perceive the help that is coming to you. Because you are in a different state of consciousness, and that help that is coming also comes in that consciousness. So this helps when you can elevate your consciousness. So I think I gave a brief definition of what is the Guru Tatva about. So at one stage when you begin, I said, you send your signals to the God frequency, you don't know anything inside, you are always outside, Bahimukhi, Bahidrishti, and then a Guru appears outside, you connect to that person, you fall in love with the person, you fall in love with the attributes, the personality, everything, you're stuck. It is just like the worldly desires. You look outside, you fall in love with a girl. You fall in love with a boy. Some characteristic, some personality. Ye aadat jo hai. This habit only takes us even to the Guru. The same worldly habit, we project it there and we fall in love with that personality, we become a fan. Now you understand why I say, instead of becoming a fan, become a disciple. You will proceed. When I say this, people deliberately create more fan clubs. Well, let's create. What will happen? Let's see. Your wish. Remain a fan. This is where the catch is. The fan is egoship. It's all about just Bahidrishti. What is the lesson? The Guru Mandala, the God consciousness is sending us signals for us to elevate. If we are ready, there are many people who don't have a Guru. I'm telling you this. Another example. No Guru. But there are people, when the time comes, when the prarabdha thins, they get deeply meditative. Because the vasanas are lesser, the karmic factors are lesser. So they get inside. And there is no obstacle now outside. Nothing is pulling them outside, vasanas. They are done with that karma, they get inside deep, and suddenly they have experiences. Shaktipat happens on its own. Diksha happens on its own. There are many people who suddenly spontaneously start speaking scriptures. Everything happens. Where? Divine grace. Why? Because they could attune within. Those who could not attune within, Bahya Drishti, they fall in love outside. The same habit. And then it takes a lot of time and efforts for them to realize that no, it is my gross senses, this is not true what it is. What is true is what is invisible in that Guru, and what is true is what is invisible within me. Then I learn that, there is something called self, there is something called consciousness. I have to learn to tune my consciousness to the consciousness of that Guru, and this is what precisely the Guru teaches. The Guru knows the false. Every Guru knows what are the weakness of the disciples and all this. So they will not say, no, don't believe in me, connect within and go. It's difficult, they know. So they will talk to you. They will talk to you in your language, the way you love it. My Gurudev used to talk to doctors in their language, farmers in their language, normal people in their language. Wherever, like a reflection, whatever they are, he used to become that. Why for them? Because, you understand this language, I'll talk to you this language. But please understand, these are all fishing nets of the Guru. Every Guru has got all different kinds of fishing nets, where their purpose is to pull you and throw you into that abyss. They don't want, but they cannot hold of you because people will not enter spirituality so easily. So they have to play games with you. That is why when they play games, the masters play games, it is called as divine Leela. Leela, the translation is divine play. Play. They have to play games with you. So the easier, faster you understand this game, you get out of the game. You don't play the games and you get seriously into the business, whatever you are supposed to do. Otherwise, you have to go through all that experiences. So people then start getting falling in love, and they are stuck in that then. That is a time when still the consciousness has not fully awakened. It is not still antarmukhi, but the Guru is attempting, connecting, all again and often, in various ways. He has got various ways, methods. Do this in this manner, that manner. He is trying everybody to do it in a certain way. And when that appeals to somebody, they grow. If not, they will remain in that till they learn. And somebody who has learned it will now rise in that consciousness. And when they rise, they now start connecting to the higher tattvas of the Guru. Now they are more interested than what the Guru is, where the Guru is going, where the master, what he is doing, where can I meet him, when can I see his photo, when can I see his, where, in the internet, where can I find him, trace him. All those things will just go off. Because now you have come to real purpose of what the master is connected you for. Now you become more serious. You now start contemplating on the teachings rather than the teacher. Previously, teachings were of no importance. The teacher was very luring for you. You fall in love with the teacher. And the teacher begins teaching you. And slowly, he makes you fall in love with the teaching. When you fall in love with the teaching, you'll see the more you are going in the depth of the teaching, the lesser attraction you will have towards the teacher. You will have reverence, but you will not be very interested in the outer stuff. You are trying to gain more wisdom, more understanding. And then your consciousness connects with that, and then you start evolving. And then a time comes when you understand that even what I am listening from the Gurumukh, from the voice of the Guru, this also is not needed. When I am connected to the consciousness, there is something that's flowing without even his effort or my effort. Effortlessly, there is a transaction that is taking place. There is a communication that is taking place. And suddenly I know, this is it. I have the answers. Then a person starts getting glimpses of, I don't have to always use my panchendriyas. I don't have to look at my Guru. I don't have to listen to my Guru. I don't have to touch the feet of my Guru. All these senses. I can just tune in and go within. Then I realize, when I am above the five senses, I have entered into the sixth sense, and that is the catch. The whole effort of the Guru is to raise you above the five senses and get you into the sixth sense that is here. So now your journey has become more subtler. Now you are establishing the your Guru Tatva. This is the Guru Tatva, Guru Chakra, which activates. The Guru Chakra, intuition chakra, can you see? It's the same. Third eye. So when it activates, you start receiving now the information directly through your sixth sense. And that is when you start perceiving more subtler, now you don't even need the voice, the form, nothing. You are connected. You start enacting that in your life. When I mean you understand the teachings, I am also meaning practical application. When even the Guru is talking. You listen, you like it, you apply it in your life. You listen, you like it, you apply it in your life. And when this is repeated, only consciousness rises. Then the next level, you are getting it in the silent communication through the consciousness, the transfer happening, and then you are liking it, experiencing it, applying it. And that goes on. So as it goes on, you can see it becomes subtler, more sukshma. And as it becomes very, even the urge to now sit and connect will go. Sit and connect is again a gross process. You have to raise, sit there, invoke and do this and do that and slowly steady yourself and then raise your vibration and come to that kind of a frequency. Then you go down, then you put effort. Sometimes it doesn't happen. Sometimes, all this process. And when you come into that and finally you are engaged in that, then see, it's a big process, gross process. So that also is an evolution where it should become very spontaneous. Spontaneous in the sense you are just sitting and you close your eyes and you know how to connect. That secret of how to connect very beautifully is what I am sharing through awareness. Because it's all the same. This gross, trying to invoke, trying to connect, trying to push your energy here, there and trying to make your body still, you're holding your nose and breathing left in, out. There is a beautiful reference. I'll read that. How Bhagwan has said this. I'll read it very continuously. I just wanted to give this introduction. Bhagwan said this is not a circus feat. When you do this kind of meditation, you do all this kind, put your eyes up, you hold your nose. That's not what it's meant to be. That's all grosser efforts. You have to get beyond it. So then is a spontaneous connection. That spontaneous connection happens when the chanchal mind becomes nischal. So stilling the mind is the secret to everything. So the more you shift into awareness, body consciousness, you leave and your ego consciousness, mind consciousness, you are leaving and you are going into the higher tattvas. You suddenly see it's freezing. Many of you have seen while I am doing that practice with you, suddenly I don't tell you sit straight, breathe this way, that way, don't look here, there, close your eyes. I say keep your eyes open and just follow this instruction. And just when I take you into that practice of awareness without giving you any commands, you automatically see your eyes freezes. Your body freezes. Your breath becomes stable automatically. Why? Because the consciousness has now shifted from the body consciousness. It has moved into the higher bodies. So there is no interaction here. The mind, it has left. When the mind becomes chanchal, when there is consciousness there, it illuminates the mind and the activity begins. It's like fuel. Your awareness is fuel. You put that fuel in the mind, it will start. You put it in the prana, you'll see suddenly kriya happening. You'll start shaking. Why? At that moment, the consciousness in the prana sharira, kriyas are happening. Illuminated. Immediately body starts shaking. The prana is moving here and there, blockage and all that stuff, it happens. Then in the mind, always thoughts and this and that, everything is coming. You move upper, in the intellectual body, wisdom flows. And you still move out into your bliss body, upper, that side. Everything is still. What is still? Your prana is still, your body is still, your mind is still, your intellectual body is still. Suddenly you become still. Why? You are not there. No fuel. The energy, the consciousness is upper. And you are in that upper space, that subtle space, where actually, which is resonating with all these principles of Guru Tatva and above. Guru Mandala Tatva. They are accessible at that range. Why we can catch there? No fuel there. Fuel is here all the time in the body consciousness. That is shifting into awareness, what I am trying to share. So more you practice shifting into awareness, you are moving away from the ego consciousness, body consciousness, and you are always there. You will be blissful. Trust me. You will be cheerful. You will enjoy every moment. You will not feel bored. Every moment is something that's happening and you will be in a very different space. The doership will die. Doership is ego consciousness, body consciousness. If you are rooted here, fuel here. You remove the fuel from here, put it up, something that's functioning, that's taking you automatic doing things. I live in that space. My travels are all that way. I do it space of awareness, including all my life sessions. It's not the body consciousness. I never put my attention. Throw it up there and then just be with it. Whatever flows, all this is flowing. I've never made any notes here. I've just noted the points which I have to speak, and it happens. Why I'm saying this? Because it's possible. Everybody, it's possible. You also have shariras. All these higher subtle bodies, everybody has. Only thing is they have not attempted, or they do not know about it. So more they practice, moving from this to that, suddenly you enter into a different zone where you start getting all these insights. That I call it insights. And that is where the teacher does his teaching effortlessly, because the teacher, the master, is always reverberating his frequency of that. He is the teacher. His life is a teaching. His consciousness is a teaching. That consciousness is always radiating out. The moment it comes, you come in touch when you are in your higher bodies with that, the teaching takes place. The wisdom flows. And everything begins happening in your life. So that is where the actual process begins, and that is where we understand that Guru is not a physical body, but it's a Tatva, it's an element. And when you understand that, this starts becoming easier. These books or these higher truths can be only understood by awareness. You cannot put your mind into it. You try reading it, it is very confusing. Because these are all very high frequency language. They are speaking from a different. If you take for example Siddha Tirumular's Tirumandiram and read it, one phrase you will not understand anything. All poetic. It's like poetry, writing about the flower and the fragrance and the wind, and you'll say, what is this? It looks like a Shakespeare document translated into Tamil. No, that's deep potent powers, deep potent wisdom hidden in that. So for that, you have to read this in a state of awareness where you are not in your body consciousness or mind consciousness, not fueling any of these consciousness, gross consciousness, but you are reading it from that state of awareness. Who reads it? I don't know. I gave you that example where I was reading the Malaleshwari's document. Something was reading it, some experience was happening, and it did what it had to do. Shifting into experience is her blessing. Malaleshwari always say, because after that experience of that awareness of 45 minutes, I started this, to share this wisdom, how it is possible. So that began with the book in that bus station which I was reading. So I don't want to repeat that anyways. So I think now I'm clear with the Guru Tattva. Once you understand it's not the body, it's the higher consciousness, but everybody is at different stage. That is why I said this video is not meant for all. Those who are still in those states of consciousness where only you can relate to the physicalities, and only if I listen only it's possible, if I see only it's possible, otherwise I cannot trust it. And okay, that means you can't trust your inner side. No problem. They have their own journey. Nothing is wrong, nothing is right, everything is perfect. This is all the plan of the cosmic intelligence. It's working at different levels, so it's okay, whichever level we are. But I am telling from all these levels. So wherever you can relate yourself to, connect in that form. But if you are relating to even higher, then you go beyond the form. You see the principle that is working through. So let me just begin reading this, Chidakasha. I had not planned to speak so much. I thought 5 minutes I'll talk and just end this. But it's okay. So what I did is, I was reading in the train, I was running through this, and I could see it is very beautifully segregated into different topics. The Chidakasha Gita, I found the topics like, who is a guru, he's talking who is an avadut, he's talking more about what material life and worldly life, he's talking about practical spirituality, which I often talk about, then he's talking how to be in the world, and about pilgrimages, then he's talking about detachment, big, huge topic. And he's talking about spiritual evolution. And he's talking about oneness. He's talking about suffering. He's talking about the practices to be done. He's talking about desires. He's talking about service and devotion that you need to have. And he's talking about self-realization. I found these major Chidakasha Gita. I was rushing through it and I made topics. And I could see it is distributed into all this. But out of that, I'll tell you, I was just noting, see here, you can see the page numbers I was noting in this manner. I have put the topic here and I was writing the page number. So you can see some are very long. This one you see, many pages are there. Many teachings are there. So I'll read the highest number of teachings, which is repetitive in this. See, the biggest one goes on oneness. Non-duality and oneness, that is reiterating again and again the higher truth that oneness is the truth. Get established in oneness. Okay, that is the highest number of teachings in Chidakasha Gita. And the next highest teaching is who's an avadut, self-realized. For avadut, he doesn't talk always as avadut, he is talking as jnani. Jnani is equivalent to avadut in his language. So he is either talking as avadut and jnani. And then next he is talking about who is a sadhu, who is a sannyasi. What are the qualifications of a sadhu? What is the qualification of a sannyasi? Qualification of a guru? Qualification of an avadut? How to identify them and what they are supposed to do? This all he keeps on talking. And then after that, the next that he talks very deeply about is desires and worldly life, where he is not in favor of it. Desires and worldly life and detachment, if I club them together, they are the highest. Detachment, worldly life and desires. If I put these three topics, it is the maximum that is there here. Huge. He has talked about how it is impossible to attain self-realization with desires. How it is impossible to go towards liberation and God consciousness in material life. He has reiterated, not one or two, reiterated again and again. I won't be able to read all these things because it's too huge. But then I have decided from now, shifting into awareness, we'll have these teachings, short videos like 10 minutes, 15 minutes on the verses, so that we can go deep and contemplate on this whole Chidakasha Gita. So, since it's Guru Purnima and we are talking about the Guru Tatva, to understand about the Guru Tatva, I think we'll start with what he has to talk about. Who's a Guru? Let's see what he says. So in Chidakasha Gita 35, verse number 35, he begins talking about who's a Guru and what is to be done when you approach a Guru. He says, once you have approached a Guru, your faith in him must be rock-like, undeterred at all times. This is very clear. Your mind or the manas must never waver like the reflection of the sun in the moving water. The mind must be firm in its faith to one's Guru. Whoever the Guru is, the faith and the firm, how do you confirm that faith and confirmation in steadiness? It's that connection, internal connection that you have. It's not about physicality again, because physicality most of the time you cannot be in touch with your Guru. It's impossible always. I'm talking about that unwavering wavelength with your Guru all the times, that connectedness with the consciousness, inner consciousness. That is what he is stressing about. Once you have approached a Guru, your faith in him must be rock-like, undeterred at all times. Your mind or the manas must never waver like the reflection of the sun in the moving water. The mind must be firm in its faith to one's Guru. Okay, this is how we begin with it. And the next verse that he talks about is verse number 27, where he is explaining who is a Guru. Okay, so he says, a Guru is the one who leads a man to divinity from the thorny path of the world. He has often reiterated this word, thorny path, or the forest path. He calls the thorny, or the difficult path. He is referring that to the world, the worldliness, the materialistic world. He says, a Guru is the one who can lead a man to divinity from this thorny path of the world. Such masters are of two kinds. There are two types of such Gurus. One is the primary Guru and one is the secondary Guru. He is telling there are two types of Guru. One is the primary, the foremost, the most important, and thus the secondary is the second important. And see, he says, who is the primary master? Manas. Mind is the primary master. Mind is the first Guru. That is responsible to discriminate between either good or bad within man. Within myself I am able to discriminate what is good for me, what is bad for me. Who does that? My mind is able to discriminate that very clearly. So my mind is my first guru, prathama guru. He says primary guru is that. So how does this mind work? Mind doesn't work. Chidakasha goes on revealing the mind cannot take decision. It is the intellect that takes decision. So I'm not going deep now here, but if you think how the mind can take, mind cannot. The intellect takes. The intellect is the king of the mind. So in many verses he has said the mind should be the subordinate or the servant, and the intellect or the buddhi should be the master. The buddhi takes the decision. What is right, what is wrong. So when this buddhi is activated, this buddhi and mind are same, this becomes your primary guru, he says. And guru is, the guru who initiates on the divine path is the secondary master. Who is the secondary master? The secondary master is the one in the form that comes in a human body and initiates you on the divine path. So the first prime guru, even before you receive the guru, you already have a guru within. That's your mind, they say. He says, primary guru, where you take decision what is right and wrong. That same discrimination only makes you even decide who the guru is. You choose through that discrimination. So pratham guru is here, dvitiya guru, second one is outside. So he says the guru initiates on the divine path is the second master. Then he says God, who is the creator of the universe, dwells in all beings, and he is the Jagat Guru. So he is coming to the third guru, who is more superior, and he says that is the universe, the creator of the universe, who is dwelling in all beings. That is the Jagat Guru. Who is the Jagat Guru? God is the Jagat Guru. Jagat means universal master, universal guru. Verse number 28 says, generally people mistake a guru for his body. See, a person does not become a guru by simply wearing sandals and counting beads on a rosary. One who talks of Brahmagyana and gives stones to his disciples is not a guru. He is saying what is a guru and who is not a guru. A guru is the one who has realized the great self and does what he preaches. So this is as per Chidakasha Gita, the definition of who is a guru, who is not a guru. So here he says, I am reading again 28, he says, generally people mistake a guru for his body. A person does not become a guru by simply wearing sandals and counting beads on a rosary. One who talks of Brahmagyana and gives stones to his disciple is not a guru. A guru is the one who has realized the great self and does what he preaches. So this is 28th verse, which is giving all different definitions of the guru. Verse number 29, Bhagwan says, a guru is a person who has totally annihilated the idea that I am the body. Means absolutely no body consciousness. Such a guru is one with God, what we explained in the start. There is no God above such guru. There is no God above such a guru, and such a guru is God, and God is such a guru. Means they become one. Both have become one. That is why we say the verses Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara. Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, God consciousness. Tasmai Shri Guruvena. So Naman Karta. I bow to the Guru who is one with that Parabrahma. One. How? Who is one? And who is the one? Who has completely lost the body consciousness. No identity of the self, the body. He says the Guru is a person who has totally annihilated the idea that I am a body. Such a Guru is the one who is one with God. There is no God above such Guru. Such a Guru is God, and God is such a Guru. This is verse number 29. And then he has not spoken anything here. Then he goes straight to 180, where he is talking again about Guru. He is talking about Jagat Guru and Sannyasi and all that. So it's all related to the master only. So here he says 180, verse number 180, he says, a sannyasi is he who has burnt to ashes all the desires in him. So, the sannyasi is absolutely desireless. Such a man is a Jagat Guru. See, previously he said God is a Jagat Guru. Now he is comparing such a sannyasi who has completely burned to ashes all the desires, is comparing it as the God. That is why he is calling such a man is the Jagat Guru. The universe is such a man. Look at this. The universe itself is such a man. Such men have developed in themselves that power which governs the universe. Sannyasa is like pure Akasha, Akash Tatva, the sky element. Sannyasa is spotless. Sannyasa safely leads a man through the mangled world of worldliness. Sannyasa is consciousness. Through sannyasa, we see sannyasa doesn't mean a sannyasi, what we are thinking, one who has renounced. No, from within is a sannyasi. I'm not talking somebody who's renounced the world and who are the sannyasis that you see here. No, the sannyasi who has completely renounced the world from within, the renunciate from within. That he is referring to as sannyasi. So he says sannyasa is consciousness. Through sannyasa, we can attain that state in which the whole universe appears to be the manifestation of the supreme consciousness. Sannyasa is divine light. I like this word. It says sannyasa is divine light. Sannyasa is fire, external and internal. Sannyasa is a fire of discrimination. Sannyasa will be all in this world if one has realized what true sannyasa is. The power of discrimination is in the universe. So in this, he is not talking necessarily about the Guru. In one place only he has said, such a man is Jagat Guru. He has given all this discrimination. Means he is referring to sannyasa from within, renounced, one who has burned to ashes all desires in him, one who has lost all the body consciousness in him, and he himself is the Jagat Guru. And one more line. Sannyasa is spotless. Sannyasa safely leads a man through the mangled path of worldliness. No worldliness at all. That is complete sannyasa, what he is trying to explain here. And this is verse number 180. Now we are going to verse number 188. See, this is interesting again. And this is almost the last verse on the Guru. He says, discrimination in the man should be sharp like the discrimination in the rider who rides in the midst of a crowd. Discrimination is your ability to judge and see what is right, what is wrong, what you can discriminate from the false from the real. The power of discrimination goes to that extent. It begins with right and wrong, what is good for me, what is bad for me, what is right for me, what is not right for me. It begins with that, but as the power of discrimination goes on, becoming more powerful, your viveka means the power of discrimination, sharpens. Now you are able to see not just the gross things, but even in the sukshma jagat. Now you can understand and realize what is real, what is false. When you look at people around, you can discriminate. Your discrimination will tell you whether it is true, whether it is false. Anything around, wisdom coming to you, it is true, it is false. When you are connected to the higher sources and some being is connected to you, you can discriminate it is good or bad for you. It's a higher senses, discrimination, power of viveka. And then when it goes more higher and subtler is when the real work of that viveka happens. This is all the training for that viveka. There is when you can differentiate what is real and what is unreal. There you can differentiate what is maya and what is truth. Which I often say, you can differentiate what is anitya and nitya. Anitya, that is always changing. All these things keep changing anytime. So they are false. Including the appearance and disappearance, all the experience that we have, including the physical manifestation. Physically somebody manifests, the Guru manifests or a divine being manifests. That also is considered to be false, because anything that appears and disappears is false. Anything that changes and is not eternal is false. It is anitya. So you can differentiate now what is anitya, and you can clearly differentiate what is nitya. Nitya means eternal. And when you are in that eternal space, you get ananda. That is nityananda, eternal bliss. So now you can differentiate what is the real, that is unchanging. What is unchanging? Your soul. Now you are easily differentiating your soul, and you can easily discriminate which part of you is that soul essence and which part of you is the body, which is the mind, The mind is false, the body is false, the intellectual is false. All these are false because they will keep changing. Mind changes all the time. Your energy, prana, sharira, all the time changes. The wisdom sheath is changing, karma is changing in that. What doesn't change is the bliss body, Anandamaya Kosha. That is what Ananda. That is what doesn't change is Nitya. Nitya plus Ananda, Anandamaya Kosha, Nityananda. Are you getting it? So all this becomes very clear to you in your Viveka when you're scanning through it. This is the power of this book. It develops your buddhi. It talks completely about how to sharpen your Viveka through all this book. He's repeatedly telling the same. So the power of discrimination is what he said here. 188 verse is saying, discrimination is man should be sharp like the discrimination in the rider who's riding through the midst of the crowd. So when a rider is running or riding his bike or cycle or whatever in the crowd, he's able to discriminate even the smallest gaps, He knows where is the difference, where's the gap, and he knows where is the crowd. His attention is not on the crowd. He's trying to find the right space. The power of sharp discrimination. So he's comparing that. In a man it should be sharp like this rider. The seat of buddhi is above manas, what I told you. The seat of buddhi is intellect. The seat of that is above the manas, above the mind. It should be seated there. Buddhi is like a king, he says. The intellect should always act like a king. And the mind is like the prime minister. Below those days, these all are references in olden days. So you'll find a lot of examples of those days. So those days it is like the king is there and the king has a prime minister. So the king is superior and inferior is the prime minister. So he says the buddhi should be the king and the mind, the manas should be the prime minister below the king. So the prime minister obeys the command of the king. That is what he's trying to say. Now he says the primary guru is the mind in man. The same manasa. And this manasa, what I am telling is, it's mixed of that intellect and mind which can discriminate. That is what he is trying to say. So that is your primary guru. The sharp, how to differentiate between the crowd. The sharp, how to differentiate between the right and wrong. The sharpness that you have which can differentiate the maya and the real. That discrimination, that viveka, that mind, he says, is the primary guru. And the secondary guru is the one who initiates us from the sthula sharira, from the physical body. That is the secondary guru. So the importance is given to this. Because if your discrimination is very sharp, you choose that kind of a guru. It goes that way. So primary guru banishes darkness and shows the light. Which your mind, your viveka, banishes the darkness in the mind. The viveka enlightens. The buddhi, when your buddhi is sharp, you can see the ignorances in the mind. So he says primary guru banishes the darkness and shows the light. Darkness is ignorance and light is knowledge, that we all know. Then he says, Guru is the Lord of the universe. He's comparing it again to the Lord, the Supreme. He is Omkar, Brahma, Vishnu and Maheshwara. This is I explained before. One must feel that Atma is separate from the body like the kernel of the dry coconut, which is separate from the outer covering. This is very beautiful. The coconut has a hard shell and inside there is a kernel, that white coconut, what we eat, what we consume. So he's saying one must feel the Atma separate from the body like the kernel. Oh my God, I just told this in a few sentences before, where I said you can actually feel the body is different from you. That discrimination, buddhi is seeing the separateness. There is a self that is separate from the body. It's not sticking to the body. When you are in ignorance, the darkness, you feel you are the body because it's stuck there completely. But the Viveka shows there is this layer where you can actually differentiate the self and the body consciousness. The Viveka does this. What is real and what is false. What is false? Body changing. It will fall off. What is eternal? The soul never changes. Eternal. The body is non-eternal, I mean to say. It falls off any time. So he says, the Atma must be. We must feel that the Atma is separate. We must feel means, he's talking again about the primary guru, the manas, the buddhi should be able to feel this, that the Atma and the body is separate. So beautiful. So this is what he referred to about the Guru Tatva. I'll just rush through some important points, verses. And these are all unpopular, huh? What I am revealing to you. You must have never heard this ever. All these now what I'm going to speak also and sharing, these are never popular because this does not appeal. Why I'm making an effort to bring this out is because we are striving to go towards liberation with some wrong mentality, some wrong tendencies in the mind, and it does not happen that way. At least in my experience, I've seen it's very difficult to go that way. So when I thought, how is this possible? When I referred to these books and mistakes, I found the same thing. That it's not possible to go in that way. So we must use our buddhi to discriminate this while we walk our journey in whichever faith, whichever master, whichever religion, whatever we are following. But this discrimination should be very sharp enough for us to understand. So if you read a little more of this practical spirituality, what is spirituality? In very simple terms, in the words of this simple man, most powerful simple man is revealed. So some practical, I'm going to verse number 63. I'm giving the verses number also so that you, if you want, you can confirm that I'm writing something or saying. So 63. Are there people still there? Oh, there are. Many, few of them have left, I think. Okay. I said this is a pull of your soul. If you are serious about the path, if you are serious about where you are going and serious about returning to the source, you will be here. Because these are some very, very minute, subtle secrets. Okay, so 63 verse. He says, Bhakti in the beginning is selfish. Yesterday, I don't know. Yesterday, how many of you saw that live? But you see that live. If you have not seen, please see it. Because I gave an introduction there so that you can understand this. Very much in depth it is. You please see it. So there I talked completely about what is bhakti. The para bhakti and apara bhakti. I won't go deep into that. The bhakti means devotion. It's just not devotion. It is the intense desire, the intensity, the deep intenseness that you want to gain that is what he is referring to bhakti. What we think bhakti means, just puja part kar liya. You have faith in somebody and you love your ishta and you have bhakti. That's not bhakti what we are talking about. That is apara bhakti, selfish bhakti, where you are doing all that only to gain something. You have list of demands from that God Tatva or that Guru, and if that is fulfilled, you are happy. If it is not, you are unhappy. So we are not talking about that. We are calling it the para bhakti, the pure, selfless, intense connection with that Tattva, whichever, the master, the deity, the God, whatever principle you are connected with. So here he says, bhakti in the beginning is selfish. Bhakti begins selfish, which is what he is referring to, apara bhakti. Selfish means, I need this. You go to the master, I need this. I need good health, I need wealth, I need relationships, I need my court cases to get solved, I am stuck in this, I am stuck in that, help me out of this, pull me out of this, be with me, save me, protect me, all that conditional love. Okay, that is what he is referring here as bhakti in the beginning is selfish. A beginner in God realization will have in him the ambitions to become spiritually great. This is the next. A beginner in the God realization, who is going towards God realization, will have in him the ambitions to become spiritually great. This what I refer to as the spiritual ego. That to feel great spiritually, even the evolving person is feeling that I am mightier than somebody. You look down on somebody, oh, that's a seeker, a new beginner, We are senior sadhaks, we are senior seekers. So that is what he's telling. The ambitions will be there for the beginners to become spiritually great. There's a great feeling. The great means doesn't mean always boasting, I am a big one. When you demean somebody also, you have put yourself in a high pedestal. Oh, these people are so awake. These people are all asleep. I don't know when they'll wake up. Something needs to be done. Look at these guys. They are so much in the gross world. They're still in boozing and drinking. And what the hell are they doing? Indirectly you're saying, look at me. Look at them. So, it is this small discrimination. Life of awareness will show you immediately. So, he says, a beginner in God realization will have in him all the ambitions to become spiritually great. There will be no humility. It's always like, the greatness. And then, however, as he advanced in his sadhana or the spiritual practice, all these ambitions begin vanishing and his bhakti becomes perfectly selfless. He is giving a marg darshan. This is the idea he is giving from the beginning stage, how it goes. So when you relate to this, we will be able to understand. We need not tell, but we will understand. Where? And we can take corrective measures for that. So it is like, however, as he advances in his sadhana or practice, all these ambitions will vanish and his bhakti becomes perfectly selfless. So when a man attains perfection, he will see God in his creation. So that is the state when he says the beginner moves from this, and when he is leading towards perfection, there can be nothing other than God everywhere. Oneness, there is no differentiation, there is no me superior, there is no something inferior, there is no my religion that is great, that third class religion that is doing this horrible religion, they are not good, their people are no discrimination at all. You see the divine play of consciousness of that same God that has created you and created them. You don't find any difference between an animal. Even in the animal, you don't say the cat is beautiful and calm and quiet, the pig is dirty. No. All discriminations just start vanishing. That is when the Tatva, oneness, the non-duality begins. So he says, when a man attains perfection, he will see God in his creation. The entire universe will then be to him the Guru. See what he says? The entire universe will then be to him his Guru. Jagat Guru. See, this is the principle of Lord Dattatreya. He used to see Guru in everything. Guru, I don't mean go and taking Diksha everywhere. You can't, because he is talking about learning. You become a student to life. Anything and anybody you are ready to learn. When superiority is there, you say, no, I'll not learn. I've seen even people, my Guru is here, I don't want to even look into that. We have not understood the Guru principle. It doesn't work through one way. It can have multiple ways to reach you if you are open to it. That is why Bhagwan Dattatreya had so many Gurus. 24 Gurus. And it included a wasp, a bee, a fly, a prostitute, anything and everything in nature. You see, water, the sky. He's talking about this is my Guru because it taught me this. This is my Guru, it taught me this. So that also I'll use one day when I'm reading the Avadut Gita. I want to read that also in this platform where you'll understand the very deep principles. It's not what you are thinking. It's very, very deep, very subtle. So then the universe will start appearing to him as the Guru. Then there is no differentiation. And then the next one that he talks about is 65. Verse number 65. He says, merrily living in a cave is of no use. Mental renunciation is real renunciation. So if somebody leaves the world and goes and stays in a jungle or a cave, it's of no use. He says, mentally you have to renounce. Mentally sannyasi. A man who goes to the forest to live in the cave is of no use whatsoever to the world. So he says in any ways that person is of no use to the world because he has gone and isolated himself in a selfish motive. Such a man is no better than a beast living in a cave. So he compares it like an animal living in a cave. It's no difference, he says. Even the milestones are better than such men. The milestones, it shows how many kilometers more to reach this place. Kanangad, 200 kilometers, that much. He says even a milestone is better than such people because that milestone, that stone is at least showing the direction somewhere. It is at least helping somebody ki aur itna bacha hai. So he's telling the man in the cave is of no use. A thoughtful man must gradually go on renouncing the world. See, here he's not saying leave everything. A casual, a regular, a thoughtful man must gradually go on renouncing the world. He must be in the world and yet not of it. Means being inside the world but still not touched, like a lotus. You are in the dirtiness, but the dirtiness does not affect the lotus at all. In the world but yet not of the world. Just like One must eat for oneself to satisfy one's hunger. One must have the experience about God Himself. See, this is very important. When we are listening to discourses, when we are reading books, we are always looking at somebody's experiences, which is giving an inspiration. But he says, don't put a full stop there. Don't be just happy thinking or seeing somebody else experiencing something. He says, you do it. So he says, just like a man must eat for oneself to fulfill their hunger, you also must experience for oneself that God. The efforts must be that I also have a direct experience of that God. Like you are listening to so many tattvas, this experience, that experience, you now know about it. That's not enough, he says. He says, go and experience it yourself. Try and experience it. So he says, other people's experience counts nothing for you. It doesn't help you in any way, other than just inspiring you. That's no real meaning. And then he says, realization is a matter of one's own experience. When I say self-realization, it is my own realization. To realize my own self, I myself have to work on myself. Then he says, ignorance is true darkness, knowledge is true light. Knowledge dispels ignorance just as light dispels darkness. When one has the armor of knowledge with him, he need not be afraid to traverse the thorny path of the world. So he says, if you have the gift of this wisdom, what we are discussing here, if you have the armor of this knowledge with you, you need not be afraid to traverse this thorny path. This world will not scare you, because now you know the wisdom of how to live in this world like a lotus. Be in the world, yet not out of it. So that wisdom he is giving credit to you. If a man has a light on a dark path, he has no fear. I keep on making these small videos about fear. I have explained this many times. He's saying why that fear is coming. Insecurities, worry about tomorrow, worry about my death, worry about beloved one's death, worry about separation, worry about loss, worry about tomorrow's gains, worry about tomorrow's food, worry about my clothes, worry about my fame, my name in the society. It's all worry, insecurities. All this fear, he says, is coming from that ignorance, which he says, if a man has a light on the dark path, he has no fear. Light of what? Light of wisdom. This kind of wisdom, if you have, it's clear. Everything is clear. The Viveka is happy now to make decisions. So knowledge is the light on the dark path of the world. He is giving a lot of information, a lot of importance to the wisdom, such deep wisdom. Wisdom will save you and help you navigate through this thorny path of the world, he says, thorny. And then he moves on to 160. So this is verse number 160, and here he says, little compassion, he says, if a man falls into bad ways, we should try to correct him. And then he says, we should not allow him to destroy himself. We must always try our best to correct a wicked man and convert his own wickedness by showing him the right path. Such a beautiful phrase. He's saying, because most of the things that, that's their karma. They are dealing with their karma. Leave them and forget. No. He's telling, if a man falls into bad ways, we should try and correct him. We should not allow him to destroy himself. We must try and our best to correct a wicked man and convert his own wickedness by showing him the right path. That's one service that I'm trying to do with this personal consultations, because I've seen so many people stuck in muck, and some are suicidal and all that. So we try to help them out by showing this wisdom of light and, giving them the insights of how they can rise. We can do it to anybody. Wherever we see our friends or relatives who want help, because sometimes they do not want it. So, but never let this feeling comes like it's their karma. Let them do that. We can do our best to help them. This is what Bhagwan says. And then he moves on to let's move on to 171. So in 171, he says, when we cover our body, we feel more cold. The senses must be annihilated completely, neglecting them. Whitewashing is required more for inside the wall than outside the wall. So he's trying to say, when we cover our body, we feel more cold. Means, he says, the senses must be annihilated by completely neglecting them. Don't cover it up. If you have vasanas, if you have tendencies, if you have desires, don't push it, don't suppress it. You need to use the viveka and ignore it. The neglect he means by that. Don't water it. If you have too many desires and you want to get out of that desire or habits or whatever, don't put water on it. It will flourish more. He says neglect it, or rather avoid it. Don't flood it more with fuel. And that is what he means to say, when you cover your body, you will feel more cold. So we feel, you try it when you're sitting like this and suddenly you try to cover your body, you will start feeling more cold. Because that feeling is there. Your senses are now heightened. Your senses are trying to see now, am I protected or not? Otherwise, if you just remain calm and if you ignore that sense, the touch sense, perception, and let's say you're in a state of awareness, you will not feel cold. There are many yogis, there are many mystics in the Himalayas and on the icy front who don't feel cold, who remain even in a loincloth or even naked. Nothing touches them. Why? Because they are not in their body consciousness. We must understand this. The cold comes when you are in your five senses. So he is saying the same. If you cover your body, you will feel more cold. Means you cover up a vasana or a tendency or a desire, suppress it, you will feel more of that desire. And then he says, whitewashing is required more for the inside wall than the outside wall. Meaning, we are busy the whole day and our whole life, whitewashing the external, bathing this whole body, cleaning this whole body, doing all kind of cosmetic works on this, rubbing this with so many the stuff, fragrances, perfumes, and decorating the physical body from outside. Whitewashing, cleansing, bleaching, all these things that is doing. So many things are there. We are beautifying the outside. He is saying more than that is required, the beautification of the inner wall, inside. He says the inside must be focused to be cleansed, not this outside, not the outer body, but the internal body. Internal meaning the body doesn't mean the organs. He is saying the consciousness. The consciousness has to be cleansed, the mind has to be cleansed, the intellect has to be cleansed, the internal parts has to be given more importance for whitewashing than whitewashing this outer. He is telling it as wall. Instead of outer wall, go and whitewash the inner wall. The outer cleansing is for others, whereas inner cleansing is for our own benefit. So beautiful. The outer cleansing is always to show off to others. I beautify myself, it is for others, it's not for me, no gain for me. But he says, the inner purification will give me benefit. That is what is for me. And then he says, purity of the mind is more important. This is what I just said. He's talking about inner purification, the mind. So that purity is more important. Manas, the mind is more important than the physical body cleansing. Okay? Purity of the outer is not important, inner is important. This will help us realize the Atma in us. See, it's one line secret. Small word, he just said. This will help realize Atma in us. What is Atma? Self. Realize Atma. Realize self. Equivalent to self-realization. Simple. The path to self-realization is about undoing. It's not doing. The whole world is involved in do this practice, do that practice. There's nothing doing. See here, one line he has given. Inner purity. Cleanse your inner walls. Focus on inner purity more. This will help realize Atma in us. Realize the self. Self-realization. And then he goes to 89. These are little hard. I don't know how you will take it, but I just have to reveal. Because maximum is these teachings. Is repeated in various ways. I have not taken most of the repetition, but I have just taken a few. Preeti Kumar, all are just techniques. Yeah. Techniques is what are external always. See, when you see any technique, it is taken from outside, it is done from outside, and that's good. Any technique, like even if you have to whitewash inside, you have to take water, you have to take it from outside, but you then begin cleaning. He's talking about the next process. After that, the importance is all about the inner. The focus should go on that. It should never be that you gain on a technique, you take on a technique, and then people, I've seen many people are stuck with the techniques. They have still not gone within. They give so much of importance. Oh, this has to be done in this manner, this manner. There's a process, the rules and all that. They're lost in that. There are people who, I'm telling you, after 10 years also sitting and 5 minutes they take to, what are you doing? Invocation, I'm trying to connect. 10 years it took you. Still you have not mastered that in one thought to just shift into that consciousness and do. And there is another person, close his eyes, he's gone. Where are you? I am already half past my sadhana. This person has not even entered the Muladhara. That person has reached the Anahata. Why? That is what I am trying to say. The technique should not burden you. The technique should not load you. Then you are doing something. You are adding on another big headache for you. And here we are sitting to remove all these problems, the load. And we have taken on a new load. So 89 is what he is talking next about. What's the time? 5:30. 3:30, 4:30, 5:30. Okay. I should finish it in half an hour maximum. Okay, 89 says there are various kind of desirelessness. Desirelessness, not desires, various kind of desire. Various kinds of desirelessness, no inclination for desires. When a man sees a dead body being burned, he realizes the futility of human body, which will one day be reduced to ashes. There are various ways to desirelessness. Vairagya he is talking about, how to get detached from this suffering of the world. He is giving these tips here. Listen carefully. He says various. One is this: when a man sees a dead body in a crematorium being burned, he realizes the futilities. He then realizes what temporary is that body that's getting burned. Suddenly he gets a jerk and an understanding. Oh my God, there is death impending us all the time. He is reminded of his own temporariness when he sees another body burning. That's what he's saying here. And then he gets that desireless, that he loses interest. He says, what is this world for? We have to die one day. Even I'm going to die. What am I doing? And then a sense of desirelessness comes. There is no desires. If you have had too many visions that time and too many dreams in your mind, and you then go to a crematorium, you'll see it is all dropped. Desirelessness. You don't feel like, oh my God, you're going to die. So he's telling this is temporary desirelessness. In the Avadut Gita, the same is mentioned. He's referring a couple of things from Avadut Gita, Bhagavad Gita and all that. And the Vedas and Upanishads, these are all from there. But he's talking it in very simple language to people, because the people he was talking to were very simpletons. So the high language is just decoding and selling. So this, I believe, he has taken from Avadut Gita only, which he is mentioning. When you see a dead body being burned, that Vairagya comes. So there it is referred to as Smashan Vairagya. This is referred to as Smashan Vairagya. Smashan means crematorium. Vairagya means desirelessness. The crematorium desirelessness, which is temporary. So 2 days, you see that, 2 days you are hovering, oh, I lost my friend, or somebody known is dead, and what is life? You are depressed, you come back home, you are sad, you think about life, no interest of doing anything, I have lost desire, I don't feel anything is worthwhile here, I need to go deeper now, I need to give up all this. That state has come, but he doesn't know it's a temporary Vairagya, it's Smashan Vairagya. 2 days happen, 3 days happen, then he sees a nice movie on the TV, he's cheered up, then a friend comes, offers him beers, and he starts drinking, and then he has some fun chit chat, and then he's back to work, and then he's lost in the world. All the Vairagya is gone, all the desireless is gone. That is what Bhagwan is saying here. This is temporary desirelessness. And then he says, the desirelessness in which one experiences after long practice is the real goal of life. The real desirelessness, the true Vairagya comes after a long consistent practice in your spiritual practice. You will see automatically, which in previous verse he had told, renounce the world slowly. Don't be in a hurry. Eventually release. But keep in mind, you have to renounce. That is why I remind the householders, Grahastha Ashram, that is not the end, my dear. After that there is Vanaprastha Ashram coming up, where you have to slowly withdraw into your space from the world. Then you have successfully completed Grahastha. If you are unable to withdraw partially into the Vanaprastha Ashram, then the grahasthashram is not complete. It is not considered complete. You cannot take the grahasthashram qualities into vanaprasthashram. From there, when you enter into the final stage of the ashram, which is sannyasa ashram, there you are supposed to completely renounce everything, and completely the final years of your life, which is sannyasa ashram, you spend only absorbed in yourself. That is a complete set of these 4 ashramas: brahmacharya, grahastha, vanaprastha, sannyasa. It's successfully completed. But if you don't pay attention to the last 2, you will pull grahastha into vanaprastha and continue the grahastha into sannyasa and die with the worldly desires, die with attachment to the family people, because that is what the grahastha do. Die a life of connection with all the worldly business. In the last stage of life also that will happen. It's not a complete process. This is exactly what Bhagwan is telling here. Very, very carefully he is telling here. Eventually renounce it, because you are moving towards that phase. So he says the desirelessness which one experiences after long practice is the goal of life. This desirelessness comes first in our search for Atma. He says this desirelessness actually begins when you have that awakening. What is that awakening? Lot of worldly problem, this problem, that problem, lot of karma, and then suddenly you say, I'm fed up with life. What is the meaning of life? All that awakening go on. So when that awakening happens, is the first search that you get for Atma. Where is my true soul? Where have I come? I want to go back home. He says this desirelessness comes from the first search for Atma. In the realization of self, desirelessness is of foremost importance. See here, the sutra, the secret of self-realization. He says, in the realization of the self, in self-realization, desirelessness is of the foremost importance. This is what I said at the start. With desires, you cannot have self-realization. It's very clear here. He says, this is the first step in life towards that, moving towards desirelessness. The next comes the Guru, he says. See, first is your this intensity, this desirelessness. Second, he says, comes your Guru. That is on this next level. Next in importance is the desire to be initiated by the Guru. See here? First is the desire, I'm stuck in this world, I'm so much of suffering, where God will take me back home, I want to go back home. That desire to know the self, to know where I'm coming from, that is the first desire. Second desire is now to be initiated by a Guru. I need a Guru, I need a teacher. Exactly, it reflects on my life, which I told at the start. First, a lot of pain and suffering and moving here and there, wandering here and there, going to Ganeshpuri, finding out. And then there is a desire, I need a teacher, I need a master. So what he says, the first desire is that desire to seek peace, that Atman, and go within. And the second desire is to realize the self through the master. I need a master. From desirelessness, a man obtains liberation from bondage, which we know, by cutting the roots of passion and anger. Passion are the vasanas. By cutting the roots of passion and anger, we can attain eternal desirelessness. So desires are coming from these passions and anger basic. They say, why do you get angry? When your desire is not fulfilled, you get angry. Simple way to reverse it. What he says here is, by cutting the roots of passion and anger, we can attain eternal desirelessness. By cutting anger, he says here. Passion is lust, greed, all that stuff. Attachment, craving, that is all vasanas. That is the cause of desires. That is fine. But anger is separately mentioned. So anger is one major cause of desire. How, if you reverse that, you see, what makes you angry? Anybody angry? The lack of desire, fulfillment of the desire. When the desire is not achieved, cannot be fulfilled, a person gets angry. This is mentioned in the Shastras also. So, when we understand this, we know the root cause of desire. Being in samsara and enjoying a little of its pleasure and renouncing it is the second grade of desirelessness. See, he's giving the percentage of the quality of desirelessness. It's very clear. The second grade, not the first grade, a little grosser one, a less important one of desirelessness is remaining in the world, being in samsara and enjoying little of his pleasures and then renouncing it. Being in the world, I want to enjoy it, okay, but little. Instead of 2 gulab jamun, I have 1. Instead of having a whole, 2 bottles of wine, I have just 1 glass of wine. But it is renouncing little bit. So he says this is second grade, this kind of renunciation which is there, desirelessness. This is second grade of desirelessness. The first grade is what he told in the first. That is by cutting the roots of passion and anger. When you work on that, that is the first grade of attaining eternal desirelessness, he said. Eternal, infinite. Okay? So he is again talking here about the desires only. Next, we are moving to 37. Without realizing God, who is the eternal truth, bondage of karma will not leave us. Means without realizing self-realization and realizing that oneness with God, which is the eternal truth, ultimate truth, bondage of karma is not going to leave us. One cannot be a sannyasi by external sign if he is internally a hypocrite. The masks. Externally, the sannyasi is referring to the seekers who is in the path of that, renouncing from within. So he is saying one cannot be a sannyasi by showing externally, or even wearing a garb, wearing a ochre, wearing malas, wearing rosary beads, wearing that kind of sandals, wearing the tilak. All these are external signs. One cannot be a sannyasi by external sign if he is internally a hypocrite. Means inside is something, outside is something. The garb is there. The garb, what? The outer wall, which he said. Outer wall, whatever you do is to show the world. That doesn't matter. He says, cleaning the inner wall is what is going to matter to you, benefit you. So here also he is talking the same thing again here. Do what you say and say what you do. See, transparency. What is inside your mind? Speak it out. You should be like that. Yes. Not a hypocrite. Hypocrite means inside something, outside something. We believe something, we say something. We think something, we say something. We are something, we show something. This is what in multiple of my videos I have talked about. The masks, unknown masks. In front of the office, we have a mask. I am such and such person. The moment I come home, suddenly I am a mother or a son or a daughter or whatever. I become a mother, a child or someone. A different perspective. Suddenly a friend calls you, go out, suddenly you are a different person. You are no more the son, mother, everything. Identity goes. Suddenly you have put into a new mask. Then you might be a certain behavior. See, in front of a friend, you might be very casual. You might be even giving bad words and talking ill and talking, freaking out anything that you want because he is your friend. That's a mask. The same person which you are really inside, when you come into your home, you are not. You are suddenly a studious person. You are suddenly an obedient son, obedient daughter, or a nice parrot. You are different there, you are different here. So what he says is, do what you say what you do. This is what he exactly says. One cannot be a sannyasi by external signs if he is internally an hypocrite. And then he says, such a man who says what he does and does what he says, such a man is a jnani. Jnani is an avadut. The final state, what he is telling. A guru, that state, perfected being. Such a man is a jnani. He is a paramahamsa. He is a yogi. He is a sannyasi. See, even in the path that I was, where everybody is called a Shiv Yogi, I even today refuse to be called by that name. It's the same. The yogi, the Shiv Yogi, my master very clearly told there are only 2 categories of Shiv Yogis. Remember this. And he had very clearly told. Today I don't find that teaching. I have tried searching that video. It's been taken off. I don't know why. And there are many such precious teachings where I loved it and I don't find those videos anymore. I don't know where it's gone. But he said this. He said there are only 2 Shiv Yogis. The Shiv Yogi can be, who's a Shiv Yogi? The Shiv ke saath, the Shiv, he is talking about the Parabrahman, the same Shiva, the Tatva, the God consciousness. The one who is in that yoga is the union, one who is united, constant unification with that Shiva, that Tatva, that God consciousness is a Shiv Yogi, which is what he is saying here. A Jnani, such a person is a Jnani who has realized the self, or the Avaduta. Or he says, see so many words he has used. He is a Jnani, he is a Paramahamsa, he is a Sannyasi, he is a Yogi. This word yogi is derived for that. So my master said there are only two types of Shiva yogis. The one who is always connected and in that state, which is himself, the master, the siddhas, the perfected being, the enlightened beings, the realized beings, that is a Shiva yogi. That is one category. Second is the one who is intensely a mumuksha, moving towards becoming that Shiva yogi. That person who is in that state of consciousness, the one who is he mentioned this word, you can check it out. He said, one focused, determined, the focused on that, no other distraction, who's just focusing and moving towards that, he is another Shiva yogi. I don't find myself putting into those brackets yet. So I refuse to be called that. I don't know, if anybody wants to call, that's fine. If there are many people who say I'm a yogi, I don't know. We have to ascertain and see, have we reached that state? One who has conquered the desire is true sannyasi. Only a desireless man is fit to be a spiritual teacher. See, he says the qualification of a spiritual teacher is a complete desireless man. And the full explanation is, he must be a man who should be inside the same, outside the same, do what you say what you do. He should, the external signs that he is wearing, whatever the garb he is wearing, should reflect inside. Inside he shouldn't be an hypocrite and show out something outside. The whole paragraph is on that. Only he alone, he says, is a jnani, a paramamsa, a yogi, a sannyasi. And one who has conquered desire is a true sannyasi. Only a desireless man is fit to be a spiritual teacher. Period. Then he goes to 51. The sense of equality, this is again about oneness. The sense of equality, seeing God in all, is the greatest thing in this world. There is nothing more greater, he says. Seeing equality, oneness in everything. We have started one group called Oneness. I don't know if you like. If your affinity is towards oneness and seeing the godliness, oneness in everything, without non-dual, any judgment, any opinions, if you like that kind of tattva, you might join that. I often share it on this Jake Light profile, from that group. We are having all those quotes, and only those quotes are entertained there. That when you read it continuously, why I am opening these groups are for an important purpose. Because every day when somebody is posting something related to that, you will be reminded of that eternal truth, what he says. The oneness is the eternal truth. It will help you attune to that vibration, than falling into this diversity. When you read the news, when you listen to people who are talking ill of this and that, who are seeing separation, caste, separation, news, when you see your vibration is going down and your subconscious is making you believe, which you are going reverse on the path. This is not the path that he is talking about. He's talking to move towards oneness. So if it is not there within you also, okay. But keep feeding yourself with the eternal truths again and again. You will be reminded. Same I am doing with the mystics group. When you see multiple gurus, multiple masters sharing the same eternal knowledge, you will come to know the truth is the same. Their expressions are different. Different expressions they are giving. This is so beautiful. So you will relate immediately. See the oneness. That is the purpose of that mystics group. So if you are interested, you can join that and you can share there. Anybody can share there. Some beautiful souls are very regularly, very consistently doing it. It's the best, beautiful, selfless service that you are doing to the society. You don't know how many people you might inspire by that, how many's life might change, perspectives might change, inner change happening. In some way you are responsible for somebody's change. It's a blessing of God. The sense of equality, seeing God in all, is the greatest thing in the world. Then he says, people go mad after shadows, but rarely do they go mad after the subtle, which is the reality. People go mad behind the shadows, he says, but they hardly go mad behind the reality, which is the subtle. Sukshma, inward, inside, consciousness, awareness, these are all subtle. Rarely anybody goes mad in this, but they are mad behind the shadows. What is the shadow? Shadow means which is not real. Shadow is not real. Your shadow which is there, you are real, the shadow is not real. We are following all the shadows of the world. What is the shadow? All these desires, the glitter and the glamour, the pomp and glory that you see, all shadows, this is not real. You go to catch it, it moves like a carrot. donkey runs behind, or the rabbit runs behind the carrot, trying to feel that I'll catch it again. So it's a shadow. It's a illusion. It's not real. So that's what he means by saying people go mad after the shadows, but rarely do they go mad after the subtle, which is the reality. The world is like a shadow, he is explaining it, being transient. The world is a shadow, like a shadow, it's transient. Transience means always changing, anitya. It's changing consistently. Men are mad after worldly things and not after the divine. Men are mad behind the worldly things of the material, but they are not mad behind God. The madness that you see, the rush, the competition, the success, what they call, the creation, the manifestation that they are, the madness with which they are running into the world, that kind of madness cannot be seen in their pursuit of God. That is what he is saying here. Then he says, only 1 in a million. Million means 10 lakhs. Only 1 in a million has real madness of God, after God. So you can see the ratio, which I often mentioned in my videos. If you are even having this inspiration to move towards the self, towards go into deeper aspects, to realize the self, towards liberation, I'm telling you, that's the immense grace of God. Because here, only 1 in a million has the real madness after God. This is taken from Bhagwan Gita, where Lord Krishna talks about this. How difficult it is for these people to actually come to the realization, and if it is so less in the quality, like 7.5 billion people, if only a handful get to the final goal, how blessed can you be? That's what it's trying to say. So he says only 1 in a million are really mad after God. All others are mad after the gross world. Such people run mad after 16 things in a ghatika. Such people run mad behind 16 things. Matlab 16 different. He's just giving an example. 10 different things what we say. He's saying 16 different things they are running behind like mad in a ghatika. Ghatika actually means a 24-minute cycle. In olden days, there was this word, something like what we are calling hour. Hour is 60 minutes. Those days, there was something called ghatika, which was 24 minutes. So one ghatika equivalent to 24 minutes. So he's talking about those. So he says such people are running mad behind 16 different things in one ghatika. What he's trying to tell is, in 1 minute, if you can basically say, in every minute they are changing desires. 1 minute they are after this 16, and next minute they are after that. Or next ghatika, or you can say next hour. Every hour their desires are changing. Their mind is fickle. Their manas, the mind is fickle, like that of a monkey. I want this, I want that. And then he says, this is different, that is different. Diversity. Such is their mad talk, he says. This is different, that is different. This caste is different, that caste is different. My religion is different, that religion. This path is different, my path is different. That guru is different, my guru is different. Such is their mad talk, he says. Why this is happening? Fickle-minded, like that of a monkey. One moment I want this, next moment I want that. Then he says, they cannot realize the unity of God in the diversity. In the diversity, the duality, they can never see the oneness. You see, what is madness? What is madness is entertaining various motives. So if you have various motives, too many goals in life and all that, that is madness, what he says. Hankering after greatness is worldly madness. Any kind of greatness, pomp, glory, name, fame, all that great grace, great credits and all that stuff. He says hankering after this greatness is worldly madness. He is comparing that to nothing but a worldly business. And then he says, but the real madness is practicing and seeing the reality for yourself. He says, practice and see the reality of this difference. There is no duality, there is oneness. That is the real greatness, not this running behind the greatness of the world. Those who have not realized the eternal truth are mad after the gross world. Mukti, or liberation from bondage, is divine madness. He says, this craving for mukti is your divine madness. Let you be full of divine madness, not the worldly madness. Everyone has some sort of madness or the other, surely. We do not carry with us to the next world our houses, diamonds, jewels, gold and property. We do not bring these with us at the time of death, nor do we take it at the time of death, after the time of death. So he's telling all these possession, we don't bring it, we don't take it to the next world with us. We cannot take it. What we carry with us, when we leave this gross world is the soul in us. What only leaves alone is the soul. Nothing comes with you. Which is eternal, he says. This Atma must be realized in this life. And the bliss of moksha must be attained. He's saying this one which is going alone, which came alone, which will go alone, it came without anything, it will go without anything. This Tatva, this Atma, this self must be realized. And that is what is going to give you the bliss of moksha. That must be attained, is what he is saying. So 254. I think it's a little late. If you guys are tired, you can go back and come back also, no problem. I'll be leaving the recording anyways, so I can see it might be a little tiring for you. I am fine. 254. Once the well is emptied of its water, all the mud will be removed. See, beautiful. Once the well is emptied of all the water, all the mud will be removed. When they clean the well in olden days, they could not clean it with the water. Water has to be removed first. The whole well is emptied, the water is sucked out, and then people enter. There is this mucky mud which is very loose, They clean up that mud. The water which then comes is the purest. See, he is relating this with something. The water which that comes after cleaning that mud is the purest water. What he is trying to say is, man in the beginning is not pure. Okay? It's normal to be that way. By constant sadhana or spiritual practice, he must burn away the impurities in him. His mind must be purified of its vasanas. See, he is referring the well to the mind, and that mud which is there, he is comparing to the impurities and the vasanas. That must be purified, he says. Once and for all, the feeling of I and mine should be burnt. Once and for all, he says. Finish, get done with that. I and mine. I am XYZ. I am this. I am not that. I am this. And then this is mine. This belongs to me. This is my property. This is my land. This is my name. So this once and for all, he says, this feeling of I and mine should be burned. When this is done, non-attachment to the object of senses will result on its own accord. Means, when this is done, the I and mine given up, automatically non-attachment to the senses. You will get detached to the senses. It is through the senses you say, this is mine, this is me, this is I am so and so. So once you give up that, automatically the detachment will happen to the senses. On its own accord, it says, automatically it will happen. And the highest truth will be experienced. Very simple these things are, but we don't focus on these things because we are wanting some more powerful technique, powerful method, powerful meditation. This is like, you sit for half an hour or 15 minutes, completely aligned and do this job. You lose chunks of impurity like this than sitting and wondering like if I do a 3 hours great meditation practice, lot of thing is going to go. No. By the time you enter with those processes and get stuck up in those things, nothing will happen or little might happen. But just a little alignment and doing simple things. They are not telling about any great methods. They are just telling you the science of just understand this process and just do it simply. And it can be done even without dedicating time to it. That's what I am teaching this awareness. This awareness does not want you to sit with your eyes closed. You are in your office, you are traveling. You practice this with your open eyes. You go into that state. You are not in your body consciousness state and then cleanse it. When your awareness is there, you will see a lot of impurities going, and over a period of time, you will see a lot of things happening. So anyways, so this is what he is relating to the well and the water. The mud must be clear, and in the starting he said, when the well is emptied and all the mud is removed, the water which then comes is the purest. That purest is what he is in the end says, the bliss of that moksha experience. That is the purest water that will come. So for that there is work to do. Yes, and then we have 268. Oh, this is a huge one. I'll just read it continuously because it's very huge. If I go line by line, it will take hours. 268, he says, for Vairagya to be steady and permanent, the sadhana or the meditation practice, spiritual practices are required. The practices are required. It is by practice that we can maintain in us the continuous uninterrupted Vairagya, this renunciation, this detachment to these functions outside. It might happen just one time, then you will see again you are lost in the world. So for that he says, consistent practice will keep you consistently renouncing. That is the idea of consistent practice. What is Vairagya? He asks. Vairagya is not of the body. He is not talking anything about renouncing that I give up my clothes, I give up eating food. He is not talking about that. Not to do with the body. When the mind is unwavering in all the external and internal cause and effects, then one sees Atma. Means cause and effect means karma. When one does not get affected with that karma, then one is able to see the Atma. One can realize the Atma only by introversion, not by bahimukhi, introversion, going within. One should lessen one's attention on worldly things and increase that on things that is invisible. Awareness, again I am telling you, more from the gross, move more into the subtleness at awareness. He is saying the same. Instead of putting your awareness into the worldly things, put it on the subtle, your subtle bodies, into the eternal space, into the soul, into the God consciousness. These are subtle and subtler things. One should lessen one's attention on the worldly things and increase that. Okay, that's fine. For Atma to be realized, one must forget both Jnana and Vijnana. So, at that state, the final state, when you are realizing the self, everything that you have held on will go. First you begin with all the grosser detachment, renunciation happening, slowly, even the wisdom has to go, he says. The Jnana and the Vijnana. That wisdom which is holding, it's just a tool to take you there. Once you go, you have to leave that also. Like I said in yesterday's example, if you have seen yesterday's video, the bhava, we talk, bhava hona acha hai. Bhava is everything. He said, sab kuch bhava re, that's fine. But after a certain stage, he says, drop even the bhava. The bhava of feeling, the respect, the too much formalities, the rituals, everything is all bhava. There's do. When bhava is there, there's always dual. You have a bhava towards something. That has to dissolve, he says. See, yesterday I forgot mentioning, very interestingly, I was telling about the Guru Paduka. I was supposed to step near it. No, I said, it's my, this. So Swamiji said, it's your bhava. I was happy. It's my bhava, so I am giving respect to it. Then he said, bhava shuddhi hona mangta hai aur. So I was thinking, bhava is there, now what bhava shuddhi? He said, even that bhava should go, that is bhava shuddhi. Letting go of even that bhava is, again, you are having some formality with that dualistic aspect. How to let go? You are one with it. There is no paduka, there is no you, everything is one. You don't. See, Nityananda demonstrated this in Ganesh Puri. You will not find that photograph because probably everybody found it offensive. There was a time when he stood, you know the Bhimeshwar Linga which is there, Shiva Linga in Ganesh Puri near the Samadhi temple, that was built by the Pandavas. Bhima had built that. So when Bhagwan came there, that temple was there. He properly renovated it and all that, and people were worshipping. But one day when one devotee entered into the temple, they are seeing Nityananda standing with his leg on the Shiva Linga. How bad. People will feel very offended. Oh God, no. They are giving examples. There is example. This is that bhava shuddhi that I am telling. There is no difference between God and him. That these external, they will not even realize that they have stepped on that. There is no that, it's that oneness. Can you see this? Difficult to understand, but some of you might have caught it. So he says, for the Atma to be realized, one must forget both Jnana, the wisdom, and the Vijnana. Jnana, what he is referring to is the knowledge of God, the eternal God. That Jnana also has to go. And the Vijnana means the knowledge that one has realized God. You see, even when somebody is realizing that spirit and he says, I am realizing that God, that eternal, even that bhava has to go. That is what he is saying here. The jnana of, okay, the eternal truth is there, I have jnana. Now when I am experiencing that God, that experience, that knowledge of I am experiencing this vijnana, that also has to go. Then is the true Atma realized, he says. So these can be tips for our journey actually. See, the moment we spoke about Shivalinga, major disappeared. It's very hard to digest these eternal truths because the conditioning is so strong in us, so strong. The condition comes from the ego. The ego gets hurt. ऐसे कैसे बोल दिया? Then he says, men of the highest realization are like the blind man, although they have eyes, like the deaf man, although they have ears, their sole attention is fixed on one. So they are like the blind man. The blind man is not bothered about whether eyes, even the deaf man, nothing. Their focus is very sharp on that one, whatever, wherever they want to go, whatever their insight is or outside is. The focus should be the same, fixed on that one. He says, that is the men of the highest realization. When the senses are acting, they are unattached to their senses. So when the senses are giving you trouble, where your panchendriyas are giving, they are unattached because they are detached, not connected. So when they are with their eyes open and there is some menaka dancing there, they are unattached. The sense is not connected to their mind. So they might see it, but they are not attached. This is how avdutas are, not attached to anything. You know, the highest state of desirelessness, the unattachment that Bhagwan had, that was the demonstration of nudity, nakedness. He did not possess even a grain of sand. You see the renunciation. That is why I am telling the stature of Bhagwan Nityananda. Not even a single sand. He had no body consciousness. The body also did not belong to him. When body does not belong to him, where is the necessity of covering that body? And it is said that, he used to roam nude before here. So when the British officers were here, they used to feel offended and they used to say, our wives are taking stroll here. What is this madman? Make him wear clothes and all that. He used to not listen because he was not attached. Not even possessing a langot. He did not even possess a loin cloth. So when people forced him and said, we have to wrap this around you, otherwise it's our dignity is at stake. And they tried to put the loin cloth, it used to fall off. Means unattached, even that loin cloth could not get attached to that person. That the sense of detachment. So when that was not there completely, then finally, okay, he agreed because people started telling him, please do that, it's offending and all that. Then to keep their thing, he said, okay, you put it on now. When that will came, it got stuck to his. And after that, he just maintained it for not his dignity, for the dignity of the people around him. So funny that is. Okay. I'll just read through this. All these people who are focused on that he's saying such sadhus are unaware of what they do. They don't even know what they do. They are just going by the divine will. And when the senses are acting, they are attached to none of the senses. Their action is inaction to them. Though they are functioning in this world, though he's building caves, is inaction to them. No work actually done. There's nothing connected to that. Inaction. Their action only is inaction. Okay? And in them, the idea of creation is less. And the idea is nothingness is more. Last time I said people have got offended. When I say, stop becoming the creator all the time. I'm creating. Bhagwan Ramana Maharishi said, who's the sufferer? The creator is the sufferer, he said. Because the creator has doership. I am doing. I am creating. The more you have I-ness of that doership, the more you become the creator of that ego. And that will create things in the world which is bound to bring you pain and pleasure. So the person who's suffering is the person who's that creator. So here you look at it. He's saying, in them, in such realized people, the idea of creation is less and the idea of nothingness is more. Can you see that frequency? That has to reduce. That I want to create. Desires is coming from desires, unending desires. By the time if you have stayed for this whole session, you will understand the importance of desirelessness. How desires are keeping you rooted in your problems. And then we are trying to get mukti from it. by being immersed in the worldly life. We are not understanding this concept. So this can save you actually if you want. So he says, power of forgetfulness is great in them. Means they don't keep anything memory. It is moving. Why? Why they don't have forgetfulness? Why they have this great forgetfulness? Because they are living in the present moment. Right now, what is happening now? That's all. Right now, if something good, bad has happened, right now is my experience. Oh, it's bad. But the next shana, I move into the next moment. This is gone. I'm in the next moment. So this is not a part of it. Forget it. Forgotten. Why? Because I'm in moment to moment I live. This is called living in the present moment. Their attention is fixed not on the coconut shell but on the kernel, like we said. Not on the outside, means not on the body, it's on the kernel, inside coconut, that is the soul. Their attention is on the invisible, not the visible. Visible is the gross world. On God and not on the things of the world. It's on the God but not on the things of the world, their vision. Their vision is on the eternal supreme pleasure and not in the transient worldly pleasure. Eternal supreme pleasure, Nityananda, Satchidananda, that bliss of that, Sadananda, Shivananda, all these Ananda which is eternal, they are constantly focused on that and not on the transient worldly pleasure. Transient means ever changing. It's not eternal, it keeps changing, the worldly pleasures, and it's temporary. They are such men are beyond sin and merit. See, Papa Punya, they are not there because they are beyond this Raga Dvesha. You tell them any lecture of, oh, this is a Papa, this is a Punya, for them nothing. Why? Yesterday I revealed to you the secret. He said, Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita said, if you are attuned properly, fully in alignment to the divine and you feel that you are not the doer, the divine is doing through you, and if even a murder happens to you, that karma of murder doesn't come to you because you are not the doer. So, Papa Punya ka prashna hi nahi hai. There is no question of Papa and Punya. This is Papa according to our world, killing or damaging. But that state is what is essential. In that state, neither Papa works nor Punya works. There is no merits also. You don't gather karma. That's what it's trying to say. Karma means even Punya phala. There is no Punya karma also. You do something good, so some good karma is no. They are completely void of that because non-doership. They are quite unaware of the existence of the body itself, means they don't have body consciousness, and hence the worldly laws do not apply to them. See, the earthly third dimensional laws, whatever is there, it does not apply to them, including all, even the extreme of even gravitational force. Why Bhagwan used to flee like in one place to the other? How come he used to walk on water? Water means you have to drown. No, it is beyond science. This all defies even science. How come a person is levitating? Jesus Christ was seen in the air. Sant Tukaram said he floated out in the air. How? They defy the law of gravitation. That is what he is trying to say. They are quite unaware of this body consciousness, no consciousness. That is why the worldly laws do not apply to them. Means body is from the Pancha Bhutas. So the Pancha Bhuta has these laws and rules. So if you have borrowed something from the Pancha Bhuta, laws will apply only then. When your consciousness is in the body. It applies the rules of all this earthly laws. The Siddhis, the Siddhas were beyond all this. You can see. Whatever the science says is not possible, they used to do that. Science says if you close your mouth, nose and all your orifices, you are going to die without breath. There have been Jiva Samadhis. They live in the water, in the earth. Oh, if you go beyond in the water, you can drown. No, they took Jala Samadhi. Samadhi means alive. The body is alive for hundreds of years. They said the lifespan, science says, is maximum 120, and then you see an old woman in Japan celebrating her 121st birthday, and here we have Siddhas sitting for 5,000 years. Defying everything. Water you will drown. There you see Jesus walking on the water. Nityananda walking on the water. Defying even that laws. Oh, you can't go into you need to take a flight and it's very difficult. There goes Bhogarnath. to China, flying. There goes Vayuputra, Hanuman, defying all the laws of nature. Why? Not consciousness is not about the body. So these laws only apply when your consciousness is in the body. Just as the water and then he says, though they are in the world enjoying all the legitimate pleasures, they are not attached to anything. Yeah, they eat, they sometimes talk, they have merry, sometimes they have fun. Nityananda used to have fun with the kids, move around, talk, sometimes eat food with them, all that, whatever. And sometimes they might be taken in car, on a helicopter or somewhere, movement, through all these, because it's needed for them to function in the world. It's all fine, but they are not attached to it. They have all the pleasures, but they are not attached to it. All the great masters. Just as water and boat are quite distinct, they feel Atma and body to be separate. See, water and the boat, there's a difference. There's a separation. So they can feel it like the body, the boat, and the Atma, the water. They can feel that differentiation, the separateness. They are indifferent to any bodily functions. That is why unko bhook nahi lagti hai. They can instantly get over diseases. If they are not thirsty, their kidneys don't fail. They can go without food for days. They can live without breath. So bodily functions, they are indifferent to that. And whatever happens, even if they accumulate some disease, they are unbothered. Ramana Maharshi had throat cancer, unattached, blissful all the time. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa had throat cancer, unattached, blissful all the time. Still in Nirvikalpa Samadhi and Samadhi. Jesus Christ, through all the sufferings, through all the crucifixions, everything, nothing happened. The soul was still active and no sense of anything happened. That is why the moment they took him down the cross and buried him in that tomb, he recreated, that soul. He replenished the body and he woke up from there. So they are not affected by any bodily functions. They enjoy the supreme bliss of God, discarding all transient pleasures of the world. They drink only the juice of sugar cane and discard the outer skin, means the juice of sugar cane, the divine bliss they enjoy, and they discard the outer skin, which is the worldly pleasures. When a man has attained perfection in spirituality, he cannot descend again to the world. Understand this. Like the sugar, when once manufactured, cannot be transformed again back into sugar cane. This is a secret which we might not know. He says, once a man has attained perfection in spirituality, he cannot come down. It cannot be reversed. They might be temporarily, but it cannot be reversed completely. It is just like saying, once the sugar comes out, you cannot transform that back into sugar cane. It's like that, he says. So once a man realizes that he is Atma, that means this is post self-realization. Once he realizes he is Atma, the idea that he is the body never returns after that. Once the self-realization happens, then the body consciousness, that I am the body, that feeling will not come back. Like an old vessel which after necessary repairs shines with luster of the new, buddhi, when the vasanas are annihilated, is transformed into pure sattva qualities. Just like an old vessel, you polish it and the luster comes back, old vessel with brass cleaning and all that, it shines again. Same like that, he says, when the buddhi and the vasanas are annihilated, destroyed, the buddhi is transformed into pure sattva qualities. Just like that vessel. Buddhi is deprived of its true nature because buddhi is immersed in vasanas. Actually, why the buddhi is not shining is because he says it is deprived of its true nature. What it is supposed to do, it cannot do because it is always immersed in the vasanas. When the gross is removed, buddhi attains its pure, pristine quality. When the vasanas are removed, the buddhi actually shines forth, and there is clarity in vision, which is make your viveka powerful. Then one will have perfect contentment. He says, then only one will have that final perfect contentment. So I think two more are there. I'll just finish this off. 5. I'll read this quickly. 105, he says, do not be immersed in materialistic life. The materialistic life can offer happiness which is only temporary. At some point, leave the worldly life. At some point, he says, don't be in a hurry. At some point, you have to leave. Leave the worldly life and enter into the path of godliness. When you are at your deathbed, he is warning this. When you are at your deathbed, you may suffer the agonies of hell. Why? Because if you are immersed completely in the materialistic worldly desires, he says, when you are on the deathbed, you may suffer the agonies that you suffer in the hell. That's what can happen if you don't leave at one point, slowly renounce the worldly stuff. Your prana is obstructed by flowing out by the three humors, which is Vata, Pitta, Kapha. So he says, practice yoga, which makes the body to be free from these humors. The Vata, Pitta, Kapha doshas are there. Vata, Pitta, Kapha dosh, which is treated by Ayurveda and certain yogic practices. So he says, you practice that, through which this obstruction of the prana is removed. When the obstruction of the prana is removed, the clarity is there, the free-flowing energy is there, and at the same time, don't pollute it back again with worldly desires and all that it's coming from that impurity. Because then, at the deathbed, it might be a problem. So 202, he says, the short ones anyways. This I had already put on my travel in the train. This is the first thing that I saw. He said, 202, beggar if you see who has not realized the eternal truth. He is calling them a beggar. One who has not destroyed the worldly thoughts is a beggar. One who is stilly. See, it might be very strange to say that worldly thoughts, it's all full of rich, so much of rich. But he says is as good as beggar. You know why? Because Karunakar Swami used to say, Avadut Karunakar Swami used to say, these are all beggars. When the rich people used to come out of the cars and with pomp and glory, lot of garlands and flowers and gold and money and charity and all that. Karunakar Swami never went to Ganeshpuri, but he used to sit in the slums of Mumbai and see. And here people who are sitting used to tell, see, beggars have come. Their beggars have come. Why? Because everywhere you keep on begging in the world. You can beg for votes, you can beg for love, you can beg for everything. You can beg for a job to somewhere. You can beg someone to get your work done. You can beg even to God. You go in the temple and you beg. So he used to tell, look at those beggars have come to pray. He used to say, bahar kuch bhikari baithe hain, andar bade bhikari aaye. Outside there are beggars sitting in Ganeshpuri. He say, bahar some beggars are sitting, now big beggars have come. To beg something at Nityananda Samadhi. So, this is exactly correlating with Bhagwan Nityananda's Tatva. What Karunakar Swami used to demonstrate. I used to feel offended. Why is he talking like that? So I can see he's reflecting this only. So he says, beggar is the one who has not destroyed the worldly thoughts. There are two paths. One can look downwards towards the worldly aspects of life and be involved in it, or the other is to look upwards and merge with God. Two paths, he says, only two paths. Either you go down adogati into the worldly desires, or you go urdhagati to realizing godliness. And he says the one who look downwards is a beggar. So 98. Not 98. 87. Okay, 87, he says, man is the crown and culmination of God's creation. Means he is at the topmost position of God's creation, man. There is no incarnation higher than that of man. Man is the greatest of animals. See, Jiva. Jiva means a being. Without consciousness, with consciousness, doesn't matter. Jiva means just a being, a living thing. An animal also is a jiva. A human also is a jiva. What separates a man from a dog? Consciousness. The human has that consciousness. And that is what he is exactly saying here. There is no incarnation higher than that of man. Man is the greatest of animals. This is what he means to say. He is not calling man an animal. He is saying the beast, the jiva, all kind of jivas. In that the most superior is man. Among men, those are the best who ponder always on the subtle, who's always pondering on the subtle, those men are the most superior, he says. And then he says, those who realize the self are the greatest of man. Means finally who have achieved by pondering on that are the greatest of men, he says. And 222. I think this is the final almost. 2 more to go. Yeah. 222, he says, those who are desireless have no fear. Those who don't have desire have no fear. Desire is the cause of fear. Desireless men are always happy. Those who don't desire, no desires, they are always happy. Such men enjoy the supreme bliss of God because their attention is always there. Man does not achieve greatness by possessing material prosperity. More you accumulate does not make you any great. He says you don't achieve greatness by acquiring wealth, land, people, space, whatever. A man is great by the power of discrimination, he says. Means whose buddhi is enlightened, whose buddhi is sharpened and pure and pristine, that man is a man of discrimination. And he says a man is great by the power of that discrimination. That viveka is what makes greatness, not these achievements, worldly achievements. Then he says possession of lands, wealth, hillocks, big mansions, diamonds, necklaces, diamond earrings, finger rings, these do not make a man great. Even a pariah, if he has the power of discrimination, is great. Pariah means outcast. The untouchables. Those days there were a lot of pariah. There was a caste called pariah, untouchable, achut, no touching. So he says, you have necklace, diamonds, hillocks, mansions and all that, you are not rich. But even if a pariah, even if an outcast has the power of discrimination, he is great. That explains how avduts are in all these bodies. You see, all are in the lowest caste. Jesus had 12 disciples, all in the lowest caste. Fishermen, cobblers, blacksmiths, all these kind of people. The carpenters. You see Kabir, a weaver. All petty jobs they do. And they are almost outcasts. You see Sant Gyaneshwar. He was not accepted by the Brahmin community. How much they tortured him. And what was he? He had the power of discrimination. That is what made him great. He went beyond all that caste system. So, he says about Brahman also good. He says, a Brahman is he who has the power of discrimination. Means, a true Brahman, not by the bodily, I am born in a Brahman caste, so I am a Brahmin. No, he says the true Brahman is the one who has this power of discrimination, who has a sharpened viveka, who can differentiate between real and false, good and bad. Possession of heap of gold does not make a man great. Again he says, greatness must be primarily of the soul and not of the body. It's all these possessions are related to the body, the name, fame, everything, but not to the soul. But he says the greatness must be primarily of the soul and not of the body. A man who has realized the Atma is the greatest of men. That is what he says. So I finished the major. There are many, and I think I'll take time and slowly reflect on one at a time. That should make it all perfect. But today, since it's a good opportunity to know and realize the Guru Tatva and the understanding of what the Guru is trying to do to us, this is what the actually Guru Tatva is trying to clarify to you, that final liberation is through this. It's moving you towards that. So we have to be very conscious, very aware that we don't trip down in unconscious. Though we are doing spiritual practices, though we are doing all that, let it not be in a subconscious way that we fall into this. Let these tattvas become very part of us, deep part of us, so that it is in our memory, it's in our awareness. So anytime, and this sharpens our discrimination. So that anytime we have a challenge of gold or anything, any temptation coming, the discrimination should say, you can have discrimination, only when you have discrimination can you make a choice whether you want it or not. If you don't have power of discrimination, this is what he's focusing here, if you don't have discrimination, you'll fall for it. You'll not even know the error that you're doing. Are you getting it? So the same discrimination is what I am consistently saying. If you are living a life of awareness, you cannot miss out. Because I told you, awareness works not on the mind but on the intellect. The awareness freezes you and keeps your intellect like a CCTV camera. It focuses on yourself and the world around. And that CCTV camera is watching and it helps you discriminate what is correct, what is wrong. In myself, outside the world. Through that power of discrimination, you make the right choices, which we call as the divine will choices, not my personal choice. When does it become a personal choice? When it is bound by ego. The discrimination power goes down. The intellect buddhi is lethargic. It's dull. It cannot make choices. And the mind works through everything, but it cannot see what is good, bad. It makes choices out of the ego consciousness, body consciousness. This is what the Chidakasha Gita is trying to reveal. So I think it's ending with the 39 small phrase which says, 39, the final one that I chose to put here. God's gift to man is equally distributed. God is impartial in giving to persons. Okay, the God Tatva. I always mention this. God is never partial. Human beings do all that. So He is equally distributing to everybody. The power of thought, the ears, nose, hand, eye, etc. are the same to all alike. It depends on the person how it is utilized. So he's saying, everybody, you, me, everybody has got ears, eyes, nose, all these senses, everything we have got, every body function we have got. And the power that God has given, the power of sight, the power of hearing, the power of smell, the power of taste, the power of intuition, all has been given equally to everybody, distributed equally to everybody. He's not made any differentiations. So, he finally says, it depends upon the person how he utilizes it. It is depending on individual how they are utilizing it. I might use the same eye to see something good. The other might use the same eye to see something bad. The same ears, I might hear some good things. The same, like a course or something. And the same ear I can use to hear gossip. So what he's trying to say is, everybody has given this power of everything. All the tools are given properly, even the discrimination. But it is up to the individual to use it. He is not partial with everyone. He has given it to everyone equally. It is all depending on us. So with this, I think it was a fruitful session. I found it very beautiful. And tomorrow I had an idea while I was today in meditating in Guru, and something came that I should elaborate more on the Guru Gita. I'll try to do that. I don't know, because I don't have a copy here. I asked somebody here. They said they have a copy of Guru Gita. If I get that, then I think tomorrow I'll just speak on the Guru Gita. Actual. Something like this, subtle. What does the Guru Gita mean? And in reference to this. So if you have been in yesterday's life, you will understand today's life. You will understand it deeper. So when we now dig into Guru Gita, we will understand. And the Dakshinamurti Tatva in that. In the Guru Gita, it is given by Dattatreya, Lord Dattatreya. Who is Dattatreya? If you go into that, and who's again going into that Dakshinamurti, the Dakshinamurti Sotram. Beautiful Sotram is there. Dakshinamurti Sotram, I don't know if you have heard it. I had the opportunity of composing this once. I think it is there on Shivayog Play. You might see it. It goes something like, Guravi Sarvalokanam Brishaji Bhavaroginam Nidhai Sarva Vijnanam Shri Dakshina Murtaye Namaha Gurave Sarvalokanam Brichaje Bhavaroginam Nidhai Sarva Vijnanam Shri Dakshina Murtaye Namaha. It's a beautiful tune. I had the opportunity of doing this long back. I don't know where it is lost, or I don't know if you might find it there on Shivayog Play. But it has a very deep reverence to Dakshinamurti, which is the guru of silence, the language of silence. He's the master of the language of silence. And then one more composition is there. Since this is dedicated to Guru, let me sing on that. There is a Guru Sotram also which was composed. I don't know if anybody has heard it. It might be lying there somewhere in one corner. So that was completely, I had composed that with my Gurudev in mind. So, and the tune was very beautiful. Children had sung this. It was done in a Mangalore studio. Gurur Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Gurur Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Gurur Deva Maheshwara, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Gurur Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Gurur Deva Maheshwara, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. It's beautiful with the music and all, it was beautiful. So I dedicate this whole video that I did today to my Gurudev Avadhut Shivanandji, without whose grace I wouldn't have come till this long. And it's His blessing and grace through which I can look into all these things. And of course, the master of master, my father's father, you can say, Bhagwan Nityananda, through which all these things is possible. So what I'm trying to share here is, we all can connect to this Tatva. It's not that one person is entitled. It all depends on your intensity, your desire. If you truly want it, that many people I've seen, out of suddenly they are just waking up and they say, I want to go to Guruvan, I want to go to Kananad. Suddenly, and they're finding themselves coming here and getting connected to Tatva, and then they have dreams, something, it's very mysterious. It's like, if you knock at the door, it will be opened. Without that, they cannot do. I told you, they have a certain level of coming down to a lower vibration. They listen to you. They listen to your prayer. They send you signals, but you can't catch it. Bahimukhi. So they'll have to wait for something outside to come to you. Or through a guru to work, through a guru to that message to come through. It's a big rotation. It goes from there to the guru, then the guru has to process it and make it available. Then you have to wait on the internet for it, because without this, there is no proof for you. No, this is authentic. Big time waste. Rather, you connect from within and directly go to the source and get it from there. You get connected. That help also comes. Everything comes. This is my personal experience. So with this, dear ones, I am so sorry I could not see any of your messages. I'm really very sorry. I think I'll just look into it. I'll make a note if anything is important, any questions you have asked. In tomorrow's one short live I'll do in the mornings or somewhere. Let me see wherever divine guides me. And then I'll answer it there, if possible. And I'm trying to do the Guru Gita if I get the book here. Because with book it's easier for me to just... We can contemplate on that, because tomorrow is Guru Purnima. And Guru Purnima we dedicate it to the whole Guru and the whole lineage, Guru Mandala, till Dakshinamurti, who is the Shiva Swarupa. Okay? So with this I take your leave. Thank you, dear ones, for staying so long and bearing me for so long. At least there are so much people who are so consistent. Thank you. May God bless you. Those who have not seen it or left halfway or joined halfway, you can always see this video. I am leaving this back. Much divine love and light to all of you. Shri Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namah. Gurudev Sharanam. Guru Mandala Sharanam. Avadhuta Chintana Shri Gurudev Datta. Om Namo Bhagavate Nityanandaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Chalo, see you. Bye. Stay blessed.